Five lights are on, and we're racing in Germany. Sally Sautunk in the Sauber, getting a good start from pole position. Joni Tormela right with him. Third is Patrick Holzman. Brendan Lee, championship leader, only fourth on the grid, but he manages to hold that fourth place off the line. His teammate Daniel Berejnay in the Mercedes is under pressure from Fabrizio Donoso, covers the inside, but Brendan Lee then holds on in fourth spot, and soon he's going to be trying to overtake Patrick Holzman for third. Here we are on board with Brendan Lee into the Sachs curve and the stadium section, but a good start from Sally Sautunk. Brendan Lee now will try and fight his way up the order, Davide.
Yeah, very important exit of the last corner. Now you need to prepare the attack down there and the main straight using the brake of the hairpin. And look, seems that he's getting closer. Little mistake. He just need to control the rear at the exit of that corner.
Great battle here. Sven Zerner in fourth place, trying to fight it out with Graham Carroll in third, but the race leaders have made their pit stop. Now Sven Zerner comes into the pit lane and gets onto the brakes. Oh, he goes for the overtake into the pit lane, and Graham Carroll's been caught speeding in the pit lane, so Zerner got it slowed down. Graham Carroll didn't, and that will be a stop-and-go penalty for the Scot. Now we're on board with Brendan Lee. All the pit stops have cycled through. He's in third place, right behind Joni Tormela in the Red Bull.
And maybe can have a chance, because now DRS open, and this is main straight, completely flat out, a bit cornering on the left. Yeah, he's getting the position. The next break will be on the right, the next corner. So, yeah, he did it. He is for the second position. Now, podium for him.
Sally Sautunk continues to lead the way for the Sauber team, but Brendan Lee, championship leader, up into second spot. This is Alvaro Carreton, sixth place for him at the moment, trying to tag Daniel Berejnay in the other Mercedes as they come up towards the hairpin. A little bit too far back maybe at the moment, and won't be lunging away from... Oh, here he comes!
Oh, he did it! Hey, he went for it. Seems that he was a bit late, but he had a wonderful break. Very well done. Carreton that is performing so well today.
Yep, he's got the ultra soft tyres, so that would have given him a little bit of an advantage. Race leader Sally Sautunk on the penultimate lap, down into the stadium section once more. Brendan Lee's 1.3 seconds further back. Tormela's quite close to Lee, and this is a good little battle with Patrick Holzman up behind his Toro Rosso teammate Chen Bollock-Bassi, and then the Pink Force India of Marcel Kiefer behind them. Into the long left-hander of the Sachs curve, you can see that Marcel Kiefer is on the softer compound of tyre compared to the Toro Rossos in front, as they come out now to start the final lap of this race at Hockenheim. Sally Sautunk still leading the way. Joni Tormela is pretty close to Brendan Lee for second place as well. Is Marcel Kiefer going to be able to gain 8th position as they come up towards turn 2? No movement just yet.
Very important this exit, because also the guys in front of him, they have the use of DRS, so it will be not easy for Kiefer try the attack. Look, everyone is trying to attack Bollock-Bassi.
Yep. And here is the race leader, Sally Sautunk, and Tormela and Lee are side by side as they come into the hairpin, and Lee is just about in front. Joni Tormela was ahead for a split second, but Brendan Lee holding on to second place on the final lap. Not really any overtaking opportunities left.
No, you're right. Not easy to try the attack here, just at the exit of this corner, because then you enter in the motordrome. It seems that Brendan Lee can be saved for his second position.
But here is Sally Sautunk. What a wonderful drive from him. He started on pole position, and he's just got a couple more corners to negotiate before he takes victory in the F1 eSports Pro Series. Through the final corner comes Sally Sautunk to win in Germany, and look how much that means to him.
Extremely important, fantastic race. He's just dominated the race here in Hockenheim.
Second for Brendan Lee, third for Joni Tormela. And we're racing in Singapore. Good start from Enzo Benito on pole position in the McLaren, down towards turn 1. Brendan Lee up the inside, not quite close enough to do anything about it, but a really impressive qualifying performance from the McLaren driver Benito, the Italian, of course, to be on pole position, but it's going to be tough for him to hold off Brendan Lee.
A bit wide, probably mistake for Enzo Benito. Give the gas to Brendan Lee to open the DRS. No, he doesn't have the DRS here, but look, he used the stream, and now on the outside, yes, he did it. Wow. Fantastic move.
Great move around the outside. Brendan Lee into the lead. Benito drops to second. Alvaro Carreton third. Marcel Kiefer fourth. Martin Stefanko fifth. Daniel Berejnay down in 8th place after a rainy qualifying session. As we go on board now with Enzo Benito out onto the little back straight. Oh, over a little bit of debris there, and he's got a puncture. Benito's got a puncture from, look like some Force India debris. He'd been performing so well, Benito, but surely that's his race over.
Oh, stop. Stop the car, stop the car!
Oh! And that's it. Enzo Benito in the barriers. And that is his race run. On board with Daniel Berejnay. So he needs to finish fourth to keep the title fight alive. If he's lower than fourth, Daniel Berejnay, Brendan Lee wins the championship in Singapore in 10 laps time, and he's going to try and attack Joni Tormala now in the Red Bull for fifth position, and Berejnay gets the job done with the DRS, and he is ahead now of the Red Bull driver, but still only in fifth. That means Lee would still win the championship.
Not in easy condition, because he needs to gain 2.6 seconds to Stefanko, and it's not easy, but seems that Berejnay has the pace to try the attack. And look,
Berejnay right up behind Martin Stefanko, and then Marcel Kiefer in front. Brendan Lee, the race leader, is in the pits now, the last of the front runners to make his pit stop. We've seen him go long in his first stint so many times, Brendan Lee. Where is he going to emerge? This is Michael Schmidl at the moment, who's up behind the net race leader, or the race leader at the time. And there is Alvaro Carreton. So Carreton pits first and manages to get the undercut and is now in front of Brendan Lee and in the net lead of the race. Great work from the Spanish driver for Williams. Here we have Michael Schmidl still trying to put Graham Carroll under pressure. As you can see, these top five have yet to make their pit stop. So this ultimately will be a battle over sort of the lower reaches of the top 10. But this is Brendan Lee now, behind the Williams driver. Great performance from Carreton.
Yeah, you're right, because he did the undercut. He was very, very competitive, and he took the theoretical leadership. But look, now with the ultra soft, I think it would be hard to maintain behind Brendan Lee. Some laps less on the new tires, and look, he's already trying the attack. Not easy to have the attack here, because very 90 degrees corner. But look at that exit, it's just there. Woohoo!
Lee up the inside, wheel to wheel. What a place to make the move. Brendan Lee into the net lead of the race in Singapore, and that moves him back into championship winning position, because Daniel Berejnay is still behind Martin Stefanko. That's not an overtaking place.
Yeah, it was just fantastic. That move, a surprise at all. The rival, because he didn't expect that move, but Brendan Lee was fantastic. And look, Berejnay.
Here comes Berejnay. He's got up into fourth place on the final lap, around the outside of Martin Stefanko, and Daniel Berejnay up into fourth, and that's enough to keep the championship alive going into the final two races. Just about. Berejnay hanging on there by the skin of his teeth. He's the man in the bottom right, the tall Hungarian from Budapest. Bottom left is Brendan Lee, still the race leader now, 3.8 seconds ahead of Alvaro Carreton, and Lee is going to be coming across the line to take victory before too long as they come over the bridge, and it looks as though Berejnay can hold on ahead of Martin Stefanko. It's only 0.4 of a second between them. Sonic Sauter sets the fastest lap of the race in the Sauber, but here comes Daniel Berejnay through the right-hander, still in front of that Haas driver. He's got to try and hold on till the end of this one, and if anything, he's closing in a little bit on Marcel Kiefer in front of him. This, though, is Brendan Lee. Another great drive from Brendan.
Wonderful drive. He lost the leadership. He regained it just after the pit stop with a fantastic move. Was the man of the day.
And here comes Brendan Lee through the final corner. He takes victory in Singapore. Doesn't quite wrap up the championship yet, though. Alvaro Carreton, a brilliant drive to second. And look at Daniel Berejnay's reaction in the bottom right. He finishes in fourth place, the championship.
So there you have it, a very dominating performance in both races in round 7 of Hockenheim and round 8 in Singapore from Brendan Lee, finishing second in Germany and finishing first in Singapore. And as Jack Nicholls alluded to there, he hasn't wrapped up the Drivers' Championship yet, but he's very, very close. Now, with tonight, there is 75 points up for grabs because there is double points available in Abu Dhabi. 2 races left just to bring you up to speed if you're just joining us. So Brendan Lee, incredible gentleman. You know, I'm on the desk here with Lando Norris and Julian. Incredible dominance from Brendan. We've seen it throughout the races this season, but again, just proving why he's the man to beat.
I think everyone, yeah, especially coming from last year, he was a guy everyone was expecting to be the best. But I think everyone's also expecting a bit more of a challenge than what he's from the others, from what we've been able to see. I think he has dominated a lot of the races, and when quali hasn't done well, he's been able to perform well in the race and win again. So He has done by far, the best this season, and that's why he's not far away from wrapping up the title.
Yeah, even in Singapore when Alvaro Carreton had the lead, I was sort of willing Alvaro on, but Brendan Lee just showing what he's able to do. It's not that he's always leading; he's able to overtake as well.
Well, he's just been relentlessly consistent, and this is why he's the reigning champion. But he's making no mistakes. Even if he qualifies a little bit further down, he's making clean, decisive overtakes. He's always fighting for the win. If he doesn't quite get it, he's there or thereabouts. And there's been a lot of... Everyone's a very good driver in it, let's be honest. But the competition's intense. But others have made mistakes, crucially, at critical times. Also worth mentioning, Freddie Rasmussen wasn't racing in those 2 races earlier. He was the main man to challenge Brendan.
That'll be interesting to find out why that is in a bit. Hopefully we can catch up with him. But obviously, Lando, there was a situation where you say the other drivers not being able to reach, maybe at times, Brendan Lee's consistency. But it was great to see Sally Sultan win in Germany. Just to see the celebration and what it means to him. Obviously, crossing the line, that's the sort of passion that we like to see. I mean, I'm glad the steering wheel is still on, but it could have come off at any point. But that's the passion that we want to see from these drivers. It
is. Yeah, especially from someone who hasn't been up the front in many of the races, but he's been there or thereabouts. So for a guy who's, he's not in the most consistent aspect of being at the top of the grid, from him to have a result like that and beat Brendan, beat all the other drivers who are competing for the championship, it's a pretty special feeling. So I'm not surprised why he was so excited. Yeah,
John, and before I head up to Matt in the touchscreen area, I just want to say that Daniel Berezzi overtaking Martin Stefanko kept the Drivers' Championship alive. Otherwise, it would have been all wrapped up in round 8 in Singapore.
Yeah, it was good. That's exactly what he had to do. I mean, Brendan is on the cusp of getting it, though, so he's got to keep absolutely delivering now, winning both races. Brendan's got to pretty much not score, so it's very much a Vettel-Hamilton real-life situation. Yeah. Of course, Lewis won the title in Formula 1, but he's kept it alive, and that's
what it meant to him as well. The Haas driver, Martin Stefanko, did not make it easy for him in that race. We'll be chatting more in a bit, but right now, Matt, there's a couple of interesting moments that you want to talk about up at the touchscreen.
That is right, Tom. We're going to start with Hockenheim. Loving the passion, by the way, from these guys. We're going to have a look at a very cheeky move from Sven Zerner on Graham Carroll coming into the pits around Hockenheim. So, as you can see, it's pretty much a stern. You've got Enzo, Graham and Sven all coming into the pits. And as we know with Formula 1, you have to slow down to a certain speed limit, which is just over here. And you'll see that not only Graham Carroll, but Sven also got a 5-second stop-and-go penalty. It seems that whenever these guys are racing in a really competitive position, they seem to then just speed. Unfortunately for Richard Donoso and Silverstone found that out as well. And Sven and Graham both getting those penalties, which in a 25% race just means they fall all the way to the bottom of the field. Enzo, I think, was one of the only ones not to get that in that particular cluster. Sven, then again, you can see on his steering wheel as well, not particularly happy. Now, let's take a look at Singapore and Daniel Berezny. Right, we're going to have a look at his start. It was absolutely fantastic what he does here. So he decides to go to the outside line into turn 1, which was the best option, as he makes 2 positions. Kind of goes off the track there, but the stewards clearly deem that as nothing particularly advantageous going around there. So he's in 9th place already. He qualified in 11th, which is very much unlike Daniel. Coming up the inside here, Sven and Daniel have a fantastic battle here. So you think it's all done and dusted. Daniel's up into P8, but Sven comes back at him, as we see now on board Sven, in fact. He looks round the outside of Berezny. Berezny's like, absolutely not. And then here, we think, OK, maybe Sven's going to go for one of 2 things. He's going to stay behind Daniel, or he's going to maybe try it down the outside there. He goes for number 2 and goes all the way round the outside. And then we're thinking, right, it's done now. Sven's got the position. But no, Daniel comes back at him once again. As we see with that proximity arrow on the left there, Daniel side by side. I mean, you never see this around Singapore, and Sven holding on for dear life round the outside, having a little peek up the inside and nothing doing. So absolutely fantastic racing around Singapore, and it's great to see neither of these guys suffer any damage from going side by side around a street circuit. Tom, I'm very impressed.
As you should be. Some beautiful, cheeky moments, as you like to call them. Thank you very much to Matt in the touchscreen. So, on to the live racing tonight, and time to welcome our drivers to the arena. Over to Jack Nicholls.
Thank you very much, Tom. So, as you say, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the F1 eSports drivers of 2018 to the arena, starting with McLaren, Bono Quist and Enzo Benito. Mercedes, it's Brendan Lee and Daniel Beresnay. Driving for Haas, Martin Stefanko and Michael Schmidl. The Red Bull drivers, Joni Tormela and Graham Carroll. For Toro Rosso, it's Patrick Holtzman and Frederick Rasmussen. Driving for Sauber in these final two races, Alec van der Waal and Sally Sauter. For Williams, it's Tino Naukarinen and Alvaro Caraton. Force India tonight represented by Fabrizio Donoso Delgado and Marcel Kiefer. And finally for Renault, Kimi Larsen and Sven Zerner.
There he is, my favourite, super sweet. There he goes, getting ready for the Renault. Right, drivers, we'll now get into position. Let's just have a reminder of the Drivers' Championship and how things are looking at the moment. Obviously, Brendan Lee with the last two races, finishing in first and second. That means he's out, way out ahead, 171 points. Now, just to let you know, 75 points are up for grabs. So that means the only person that can beat Brendan Lee in the Drivers' Championship is Daniel Beresnay. That means he needs to win the next two races in Austin, USA, and in Abu Dhabi, and Brendan Lee mustn't finish pretty much with any points. He can't finish in ninth, and of course in the last race it's double points, so he just needs to be in those positions where he doesn't score any points. Can it be done, Jolien, Lando? Can this magical feat be achieved tonight?
You know what? I reckon it can.
Okay.
I like those odds if I'm Brendan Lee, that is for sure.
Okay, fair enough. And Lando, does this put no pressure on Brendan? He just needs to sort of like be about 25% off his normal best, and he knows he can still probably potentially get points.
I don't think he could do, but I don't think he'll go for it. I think he's still going to be going for the win. You know, he's been putting in a lot of practice, I'm sure, since the last time he raced. So knowing it's only a couple points away, pretty much, I'm pretty sure, you know, he'll be going for the win, risking all that he wants, because he's got nothing to lose. So. Yeah,
and I enjoyed a little bit of a shocker there from Brendan Lee, just giving that to the camera, and a little cheeky eyebrow raise. Well, listen, gentlemen, thank you very much for your comments, Lando, Jolien. Let's throw up to our commentating team, Jack Nicholls and Davide Visecki.
Thank you very much, Tom. Yes, we are about set then for our first live race of the evening at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. A new built circuit, Davide, but a really cool track.
Yeah, it would be interesting to check it out because there is a really long straight and will be fantastic to understand if there will be some attack. And then the first corner, very uphill corner, and here the straight will be easy to try the overtake, not easy to defend the position. 90 degrees corner just at the end of the straight.
Yeah, two DRS zones for overtaking, which is always going to be good, and into that tight first hairpin, it's going to be a real challenge. And this is how the drivers will line up. Pole position, it's Brendan Lee. Frederick Rasmussen alongside him on the front row of the grid. Daniel Beresnay and Patrick Holtzman completing the Mercedes Toro Rosso sequence at the front. Fifth on the grid, Martin Stefanko for the Haas team ahead of Marcel Kiefer for Force India. Then it's Alvaro Caraton, who did very well in the last two races, 7 and 8. He starts 7th just in front of Yoni Tormala. Keep your eyes peeled for Fabrizio Donoso Delgado, 6/10 away from pole position, but he's going to want to climb up the order from 10th spot. Enzo Benito was on pole in Singapore, couldn't quite pull it together for Austin. He starts in 13th place. Alec van der Waal hasn't done a huge amount of races this season, but he's going to be there in 15th place on the grid. And at the back of the grid for McLaren, it is Bono Huis, the young Dutchman from Maastricht. So that's how the grid will line up. Brendan Lee, if he finishes higher than 8th, he is the champion, whatever happens. Daniel Beresnay, starting 3rd on the grid, has to win the race to stop that man, Brendan Lee, from winning the title. He's in a good position, Brendan Lee, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, because he's starting on pole, and usually makes the difference for the first few laps. It would be interesting to check it out, the first sector, but look at him. He would like to try, to achieve the chance to fight for the championship. Still in the last race, will be not easy.
And of course, these two Mercedes teammates, they are at the top of the team's championship, but they are catchable by the Toro Rosso team, who are going to be starting in 2nd and 4th on the grid for Rasmussen and Holtzman. So there's that battle as well to keep an eye out on. Plenty of action about to unfold in the F1 New Balance eSports Series of 2018. The drivers all getting into position. That run up towards turn 1 off the start is a really good opportunity to go side by side as well and make up places onto the brakes into that hairpin left-hander. You can see Lee focusing and getting himself ready for the start of the 9th round of this 11-race season. Here we go then, about to go racing again in the F1 eSports Series. Brendan Lee on pole position, all 5 lights are on, and we're racing in Austin. Good initial getaway from Frederick Rasmussen. Can he get the inside line? Wow, what a chop across there from Brendan Lee. Beresnay tries to do the same. They've had a little bit of a Michael Schumacher discussion going into this one, but Patrick Holtzman has managed to get past Daniel Beresnay and up into 3rd position then. So Lee leads, Rasmussen 2nd, Holtzman 3rd, Beresnay down to 4th. 5th is Marcel Kiefer, then it's Stefanko, Caraton, Tormala, Sauton, and now Karinen, the top 10. Brendan Lee, very aggressive off the line.
Very aggressive, and he could save his position, but look, Holtzman, he did the same of his teammate, but he could achieve the 3rd position, and now he's running very well. Main straight just after this corner would be interesting to check it out if he can have the chance. Rasmussen to attack Brendan Lee immediately.
So he's going to try and get the slipstream coming out of turn 11 down the long stretch into turn 12. Brendan Lee not covering the inside line at the moment. Rasmussen shows his nose and then tucks back into the slipstream. No moves being made there. Here comes Beresnay. No, a little bit too far back, I think, as he tried to make the move on the inside on lap 1 of 14. And it is Brendan Lee holding on at the moment, but Frederick Rasmussen will be keen to beat him, as he managed in Baku in what seems a long time ago now. It's going to be a fascinating battle between these two.
Yeah, also because Brendan Lee is leading, but both Toro Rosso are behind him, so it will be not easy to try to maintain the position, considering, exceeding track limit. Yes, we need to stay, they need to pay attention. And the last sector, there is white line and then asphalt escape road. Everyone tried to use everything in the track, but you can get a penalty there.
There is Frederick Rasmussen on the left-hand side, the calm face of the 18-year-old Dane as he tries to chase down Brendan Lee for the lead. This, meanwhile, is a look up the inside from Yoni Tormala. He goes up into 7th place past the Haas of Martin Stefanko. Good move there from the Finn. And now Stefanko's under big pressure from Sally Sautunk as well, and Sautunk gets through too in the Sauber. So that's 2 places lost. Oh, and very wide there goes Stefanko, and that allows Tino Naukarinen in the Williams through as well. So that's 3 places lost in as many corners.
I hope he had some technical problem. If not, he was confused because he lost 3 positions in the first sector. I think that he was not 100% concentrated, and he lost the chance to stay on the point position. Because look, he's still losing position. Probably he has some damage on the car.
On board here with Sally Sautunk in the Williams, trying to get past Yoni Tormala in front. Mike Hodges in the Sauber, of course. Is he going to be close enough for a move?
Trying.
Late on the brakes, up the inside. Tormala very confidently went for the apex, and they just about avoided any collision. Brendan Lee almost a second clear of Frederick Rasmussen, but not quite a second, and that is the magic number for the DRS when that comes into play on the next lap, where you can pop open that slot in the rear wing and reduce your drag. but Brendan Lee still leading. It's just crept over a second. Holtzman in third, Beresnay fourth, Marcel Kiefer in fifth. And then this is Marcel Kiefer right behind Daniel Beresnay, actually, in their battle over fourth place. It's going to be very close.
Yeah, it's putting pressure, Kiefer, that he started really well this race, because look, it seems that he's very performing at the moment as he's getting closer to Beresnay. Not an easy place to try the overtake, but probably he's going to try it on the main straight. You said right, DRS open for this lap, and he's making a huge difference in terms of maximum speed.
Marcel Kiefer there, bottom left, bottom right is Daniel Beresnay. Through this fast sequence of corners from turns 3 all the way through to turn 9 and 10. The little left-hander that then sends you out towards the hairpin of turn 11 where the overtakes can begin to be formed. Patrick Holtzman's pretty close to his teammate Fredrik Rasmussen in their battle over second place, so we'll keep an eye out on that one as well as Kiefer comes through the left-hander and out onto the back stretch, and Rasmussen's going to be too far back to get the DRS. Beresnay is very close to the back of Holtzman now as they come down into the left-hander. Not quite close enough to make a move though this time around. A little bit twitchy on the brakes there for Patrick Holtzman in that second of the Toro Rossos. And there is the young German in the bottom left, an awful lot of sim racing experience for him. He's raced in the Vegas E-Race a couple of years ago and almost had a victory in Paul Ricard until a decision was overturned and Brendan Lee was given back the race win. But a very quick driver, Patrick Holtzman, and we're on board with him now, chasing down his teammate. But now these two are racing for the team. Neither of them are in the Drivers' Championship. They've got to be sensible, haven't they?
Yeah, you're right. They don't have to crash each other, but try to achieve Brendan Lee. That seems that he's pulling away a bit. Look, 2 seconds is the difference. He set a fantastic lap time, Brendan Lee, and he opened the gate until 2 seconds. Not easy for the Toro Rosso driver. That seems that they're losing a bit of performance. Probably Rasmussen has to let pass Holtzman, because it seems that he's delivering more and he's quicker at the moment. Look, he's putting pressure on his teammate. Seems that already struggling a bit with tires, Rasmussen.
Yep, they are on the ultra soft tyres, so they'll be coming into pit before too long. We're on lap 4 of 14 at the moment, and is this going to be an orchestrated move from the Toro Rosso guys for second place?
Not now.
Little look to the inside, and I don't think Holtzman is going to fight that. Up the inside goes Holtzman. Rasmussen drops down to third. Is that going to give Daniel Beresnay an opportunity? Yes, it is. The Mercedes driver right up behind pulls out. He might be able to get both of them here. This might be a 1-2 for Mercedes by the end of the straight. Slots through the middle of the Toro Rossos, and they almost come together on the brakes. Somehow Patrick Holtzman holds on to second place. Fantastic racing.
A fantastic Holtzman. Was not easy to try to maintain the calm and then brake with Beresnay, tried the attack on the outside, but Holtzman was just perfect to understand the braking point on the inside. Very well done. Seems that Holtzman, he has free air in front of him, he can explode all his speed.
Yep. Brendan Lee still leading the way, 2.8 seconds clear of Holtzman now. Let's see whether he can pull away from Beresnay in third. Into the pits comes Fredrik Rasmussen. You were right then, Davide, struggling with the tyres, and he is one of the first to come into the pits. Also joining him is the Red Bull of Joni Tortola, but Brendan Lee is still leading the way. 3 seconds clear now over this second place battle of Holtzman and Beresnay, and if it stays like this, Brendan Lee wraps up the 2018 championship.
Yeah, you know why? He's opening the gap, but he's flying in comparison to the other rivals because he's using the same tires and he's just delivering and performing better.
Out onto the track again goes Fredrik Rasmussen then. He's now on the super soft compound of tyres, so an early pit stop for him. We'll see whether any of the other front runners decide they need to react and come into the pits as well, or whether they decide to extend the stint.
Probably a bit too early. Now he's going to attack.
This is Sally Sautung, and he is going past Alvaro Caraton. That's for 5th place at the moment, which is going to be a net 7th place once the pit stops have shuffled out, I would have thought. So good move there from the Sauber driver, Sally Sautung. And now Beresnay is under a bit of pressure still from Holtzman.
He tried, I think, Kiefer on the inside.
Yeah, he's in front of Holtzman, isn't he? So Beresnay's up into 2nd place. Kiefer's now up into 3rd. So Holtzman has dropped back. They're still side by side as they come through the long right-hander. And now he's trying to get the switch back again.
He will have a bigger exit.
On board with Marcel Kiefer in the Force India. But Holtzman just about seems to have held it. So Daniel Beresnay in the Mercedes up into 2nd place. And starting to pull clear. Is Holtzman going to pit this time around? Yes, he is.
They're struggling with tires, and the Toro Rosso driver forcing to get in the pit stop to make the pit. Was late on the brake.
Race leader Brendan Lee is in the pits as well. There is the Mercedes driver getting his tyres changed and back out onto the circuit. The cars are ghosts in the pit lane, so if they sort of bump into each other, there's no damage. It's automated for the drivers in the pit stop until they take off the speed limiter here and get back into the race. So Beresnay leads but has yet to pit. Kiefer second and has yet to pit. Brendan Lee has emerged still in front of Rasmussen and Holtzman and Caraton, as we sort of expected he would, because he had such a big advantage.
And for him it's important because now he's theoretically leader of the race. Brendan Lee is the top of the man that already had the first pit stop, and look at Rasmussen, 2.7 seconds behind him, and probably is going to struggle in the last few races of the, in the last few laps of this race, because he put super soft, maybe a bit too early in comparison with all the other rivals.
Here's Daniel Beresnay then, the race leader. He's got to win the race if he wants to keep in the championship hunt and hope that Brendan Lee finishes 9th or lower, which at the moment, if you just look at those standings, looks good, but it's bad because he hasn't made his pit stop yet. Brendan Lee is still the net leader of this race in Austin, Texas. So when will Beresnay decide to pit? And here's Brendan Lee then carving his way past drivers who have yet to stop. That's Kimi Larsen in the Renault. Tom Deacon's favourite Super Swede losing a position to Brendan Lee, but he needs to be careful in all these slower cars that he doesn't just lose a bit of a front wing, or he's still got to stay calm.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't need to crash, but also he's losing a bit of time.
Yeah.
He finds traffic, and it's not easy because he finds all these drivers that they didn't pit stop yet, so they have very used tires, and I think he's losing a lot of time.
Into the pits now comes Graham Carroll in the Red Bull. The Scottish driver was the next man in front of Brendan Lee, so he is now up behind Bono Huis. Alvaro Caraton being given a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings, so that'll be track limits.
Yeah, because he was fighting for podium position, so very heavy this penalty for him. I think that was like a pit stop, speed in the pit lane, and it's a big mistake.
So Brendan Lee now up into 6th place. In front of Kimi Larsen, it's still Rasmussen and Holtzman behind, but Daniel Beresnay is doing a good job here. He's going to go half the race on those ultra-soft tyres. We saw some of the Toro Rossos coming in on lap 3 or 4 to change their tyres. So Daniel Beresnay doing a good job out in front. Whether he'll bring him out in front of Brendan Lee, I'd be surprised, but he's going to be in a strong position to at least make it a Mercedes 1-2.
And also consider that he will have a fresh tires, and so in comparison to Toro Rosso, maybe he can have a technical advantage in terms of grips.
Here comes Brendan Lee then on the back of Bono Huis. Multiple Formula Sim Racing champion Bono Huis, champion of the Vegas E-Race a couple of years ago in, well, Vegas, and a very impressive driver, but started at the back of the grid today and has managed to climb his way up to 6th, but yet to make a pit stop. Brendan Lee up into 5th, then Enzo Benito is the next man in front of him if they decide not to pit this time around. And Daniel Beresnay looks as though he's still staying out there on the circuit. No, he's in the pits.
It will be extremely important for him to check it out at the exit of the pit stop. If he's still in front of the Toro Rosso just behind, we need to consider that he will have fresh tires. Probably Brendan Lee will be in front because look, he's on the main straight.
Here they come then, up towards turn 1. The other Mercedes is going to come out of the pits here, so Brendan Lee resumes the net lead of the race. There comes Brendan Lee, Beresnay behind, and I think he's in front just of Frederick Rasmussen by about 0.3 of a second. So Daniel Beresnay under pressure from the Toro Rossos, but he's got fresher tyres. Rasmussen less than a tenth behind him now. We're on board with Rasmussen as they come through this quick sequence of corners, and this is where Beresnay's tyres are really going to help him. Rasmussen's got to get this move done ASAP.
Yeah, it will be not easy for him to defend the position, but he needs to stay just in front of the rival before the main straight and try to not have the advantage. Oh, I think one man just pull off and let him pass, or no?
Correct. Patrick Holtzman has moved up ahead of the Toro Rosso of Frederick Rasmussen, so the team have swapped places. Holtzman's tyres are fresher, so maybe they're thinking he's got a better chance of trying to catch the Mercedes in front of Daniel Beresnay. They've got to be careful because Marcel Kiefer's right behind in the Force India, and there comes the Sauber up the inside. That's Sally Southam trying to make his way past Alvaro Caraton, and I think he managed to get that move made. We're on board then with Frederick Rasmussen in 6th place at the moment, but still waiting for some of the leaders to pit. He's up the apex nicely. His teammate in front, Patrick Holtzman, has been released to try and attack Beresnay for what will be a net 2nd place. As you can see, Benito and Huis, the two McLaren drivers, are the two yet to stop. As I say that, Enzo Benito comes into the pits, and
Kiefer looks strong.
he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, Kiefer on Force India looks very strong because Rasmussen, probably, you're right, he's struggling a bit with Tyrus grip, and look, it's just behind him. Everyone is with DRS open, and he needs to stay close here in the first sector. Very quick and very fast. It's not so easy, because you lose a bit of downforce when you are following your rival just so closely.
There's a warning for exceeding the track limit, so Kiefer's got to be careful with that. Too many of those, and he'll end up with a time penalty. But these guys are experiencing dirty air. The game is coded and designed so you do lose a bit of grip when you're following a car in front through the twisty corners, but Kiefer's done a good job there.
It's close enough. Van der Waal, 3-second penalty, probably multiple warnings.
Yeah.
Seems that exceeded the track too many times, and he got the warning, but look at Kiefer. Probably with the DRS now, he can have the chance to overtake Rasmussen that is struggling with tires. Try. You gotta try now.
And Sally Sautunk is trying as well in the Sauber, but he's too far back, and Kiefer does it up the inside of Rasmussen. There they go, a bit of contact, and the Kiefer falls behind, so he almost got past Rasmussen. Alvaro Caraton almost careering into the back of the pair of them, but they're still in the same order that they were before, but Rasmussen is going to be under big pressure here.
Not easy to maintain behind so many drivers. You need to consider that Caraton has the penalty.
Yeah.
3-second penalty that will be added on his racing time at the end of the race. So for sure he's not going to fight.
Oh, and Marcel Kiefer won as well. 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. That would be so frustrating for the Force India driver, but he's still got to try and finish up as high as he can. Bono Huis has finally pitted.
Oh, he did it!
And there at the inside goes the Force India. Kiefer up into 4th place. Rasmussen drops down to 5th. Or does he? They're still side by side as they come into the twisty left sequence of corners. And Kiefer's in front. What a move that was from the Force India driver. Up into 4th place, but a 3-second time penalty. Caraton has got past Rasmussen as well. And so has Sally Sautunk. They're still side by side now. Caraton and Sautunk over 5th place. The Sauber has the position at the moment. There's a Renault in there all of a sudden. Sven Zerner decides to join the party. 3 wide coming into turn 11. Are they all going to see each other?
On the inside.
Yes, Zerner on the inside. Who isn't going to get DRS here, though? One of them isn't going to get DRS. They pop the rear wing open now. It's Sally Sautunk in the Sauber. He's going to get swamped. Everybody else behind him has got the track reduction system open.
Tuner on the inside. Check it out. Yes, he made it. Maybe he's going to miss the corner. But no, just wonderful. Wow. Wow. Was not easy to manage. No.
There goes the Williams. Caraton trying to force his way back past Zerner in the Renault. A little bit more contact between them. Look to the left because there comes Sally Sautunk. Back up the inside of 2 drivers. Sven Zerner in 5th. Sautunk 6th. Not for long because there goes Caraton. Back pass. It's like watching Formula 4. This all the way around the outside. Goes the Sauber. Oh, a little bit of nudge into the back, and that'll cost Caraton front wing damage, front end grid, and that'll be, and you can see his front left end plate is gone off that front wing.
That is the button we're waiting for. That was fantastic. Zuner, I think that is one of the best performances of this group, and now easy.
Oh, but now he's got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for track limits. No, I hate track limits.
Easy to make a mistake in the track, because look, everywhere is on asphalt, and so it's easy to cross the white line with all 4 wheels. If you do it more than 3 times, you take the penalty. And so is Sally Sautunk that now is fighting for the podium.
Yeah, correct. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, because the drivers around him, they are penalized.
Yeah.
Kiefer has the penalty. Tuner has the penalty. Rasmussen is struggling with tires. Caraton has the penalty.
Yeah. So Sally Sautunk now in 6th place. He's going to try and climb up the order. Presumably the Mercedes are still leading somewhere, but onto the brakes for the left-hander at the end of the straight. And Sven Zerner in 5th, Sautunk behind. There you can see the full order. Brendan Lee, Beresnay, Holtzman in 3rd, Kiefer in 4th. He has a penalty as well. Sven Zerner with a penalty too. So as they come across the line, those penalties will get applied. I'm not going to try and guess the order other than the top 2 at the moment. I think we're on lap 11 of 14 already in this race in Austin, the 9th round. Oh, where's Caraton going there? He's lost so much front wing grip that his teammate Tino Nakarinen has just gone past him as well. Understeer City in that Williams, and he comes into pit lane City. Does he get it slowed down in time? Yes, just about. So that'll be Caraton pitting for a new front wing. A shame for him, he's had a good couple of races over the last couple of days.
But was a bit too much aggressive today. I mean, he was over-driving a bit, and he created some trouble to him and to also all the other drivers. So I think that was not a very good ending, but today didn't perform so well.
But maybe he's going to go for the fastest lap now, potentially, with a new front wing and some fresh tyres. Meanwhile, this is Joni Tormala in the Red Bull. He's now in front of Tino Nakkarinen in the Williams in their battle over 8th place. Behind them in 10th is Enzo Benito, the Italian for the McLaren team. Martin Stefanko, the next man to pick up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And this is Sally Sautuk in 5th place, right up.
He's going to try
behind Sven Zerner in the Renault. Looks to the outside. That'll be a brave one if he gets that one stopped. All the way around the outside. Can't quite do it. Has a little nose towards the inside. Oh, he's too far back. No. Sautuk forces his way through. Up the inside. Really strong move. The Renault's still there. The Renault goes in deep.
Did you saw it cross the line?
I saw it. Don't worry, I'm watching as well.
Yes.
And Sally Sautuk up into 5th place.
But that was fantastic, because he was offside. It seems that he was already lost, but then he crossed the line, and he was very clever. So, well done.
Lap 13 of 14, penultimate lap of the...
You saw it.
No, I saw it. Yeah, no, I saw it.
You saw it with me. Yeah, you saw it. Sorry, man.
Lap 13 of 14, penultimate lap of the race. Brendan Lee leading, 3.3 seconds. This would seal him the championship as far as the drivers are concerned, and would also be a great help to Mercedes in the team's championship, because Frederick Rasmussen down in 7th place for Toro Rosso, Holtzman in 3rd. They'll take a big step towards sealing that title as well, although there are double points on offer in Abu Dhabi.
Holtzman is doing a very good race, because was not every time there during the season, but now in this race he's one of the best. He's 3rd at the moment, and seems that he's opening the gap to Marcel Kiefer, so he put him in a safe position also for the podium fight. It will be extremely important for him to take this result. And Sally Sautuk, that he was one of the best today with some great overtakes.
So lap 13 of 14. And here's an attack from Enzo Benito on the back of Tino Nakkarinen coming down into turn 12. Although this is Frederick Rasmussen as he comes through that left-hander. Does Benito make it through? Looks like he does. The McLaren driver up into 9th place, so into the points for them. And Bono Cuis is out there too on the ultra-soft tyres. Caraton won't be going for fastest lap, of course, because he's on the super-soft tyres, not the ultra-soft tyres. If he'd have stuck on some ultra-softs, we might have seen a fastest lap there from Alvaro Caraton. And there is the DHL fastest lap award up for grabs too. Brendan Lee leads that at the moment, and he is now onto the final lap of the race, and a lap which could seal him the 2018 F1 eSports Pro Series Championship.
It's flying, Brendan Lee. It's just a bit better than the other, because we need to consider that he's opening the gap. Also, if he pitted earlier than the teammates try to stay longer. In theory now he has fresher tires, but Brendan Lee, look at it, he's just flying away. So very well done to him.
Last year, the eSports series was new, nobody sort of knew much about it, that kind of thing. Brendan Lee came, he won it. You thought for this season, everyone else will have caught up with Brendan Lee. It won't be so easy. It's a bit easier.
I mean, he raised up the level, I think, and everyone tried to catch him, but he made the difference. I think in terms of talent, probably he has something more. Look
at him, he's like this little smile twitching away as he tries to keep it in check, coming through the final couple of corners now, Brendan Lee. Won the title in Abu Dhabi last year, the first ever F1 eSports Pro Series, and it looks as though he's about to wrap up a second in just a few corners' time. There's still the Constructors' title to fight for. That's where all the money is at as well. But there's going to be a lot of pride for Brendan Lee as he swings through the penultimate left-hander, then into the final corner. The reigning champion comes back and destroys the field. Brendan Lee, back-to-back F1 eSports Pro Series champion. Superb performance from Brendan Lee, a two-time champion with victory in the USA. Daniel Beresnay across the line in 2nd place. There is his team on the bottom right there for Mercedes. Harry Jacks there on the left-hand side. There's more action to come here. Frederick Rasmussen's getting involved. Alec van der Waal is side-by-side with someone. That is Kimi Larsen, I think, over 12th place. Tino Nakkarinen in there as well. We'll wait for the 3-second time penalties to get applied. So I think they've been applied as they come across the line. So Patrick Holtzman finishing third, Sally Southung in fourth, fifth for Marcel Kiefer. But the story is the champion, Brendan Lee, for a second year in a row. A huge congratulations, undefeated in the F1 eSports Pro Series. He's already in the game, so there he is on the top step, but a huge well done and a huge round of applause for the 2018 F1 eSports Pro Series champion, Brendan Lee. Stunning stuff, wonderful drive. There's his teammate Daniel Beresnay, who's done a good job, and they've still got work to do in these last couple of races, haven't they?
Yeah, they were just perfect, to be honest, but Brendan Lee has made a difference. Today was just a bit better and a bit quicker than, and was not an easy race because he was into traffic. He had to make so many overtakes, but was fantastic.
So Brendan Lee shaking his head, no wagging of the finger. He is the champion for the second year in a row. Tom.
Thank you very much, Jack and Davide. I don't want to be bringing the party down in any way, shape or form because it's pretty much there. It's almost rubber stamp for Brendan Lee to be given the Drivers' Championship, and he's done it 2 years in a row. We're just waiting for the judges to have the final say on that, and then we can have the official ceremony of presenting Brendan with the championship. But listen, guys, Davide said it. It was a difficult race, not easy for him, but it did seem at times plain sailing for him.
Well, the fact that he pitted early, earlier than the people in the midfield, it was difficult in that section. And with Beresnay was second, if anything happened to Brendan, suddenly, you know, he could lose his front wing. Caraton had that, and it basically cost him the race. So if that happened to Brendan, the whole title goes down to the wire in the last race. So for him, I think it's the absolute perfect solution that it doesn't come down and he can just relax and enjoy the last one.
And there was some emotion on his face, Matt, at the end. There was almost tears. I wanted tears, but there weren't quite tears, were there?
I don't know if he was poking his eyes to try and get some tears out.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Well, we can find out, Matt, because Rosanna's with Brendan right now. Were there tears?
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, Brendan, why were there no tears?
I was crying on the last lap, so no tears after the race. I ran out.
We saw a cheeky little smile there. Congratulations, you are unofficially the champion. Where is your head at right now?
I can't really say where my head at because I don't know where it is, to be honest. I'm just so overwhelmed by emotion. I just want to say thank you to the team. So much hard work behind the scenes. My teammate right next to me, and we've been putting so many hours in practice to make this possible.
How stressful were those last few laps? You had to stay concentrated, stay focused. Where were you in those last few moments?
I think those last few laps I was just enjoying it. Those moments you maybe never get again in your life. So I spent those last laps enjoying it and just not relaxing because you can never relax, but just driving with myself and just enjoying the moment.
Well, enjoy the moment. We've got more to come. Our official champion, Brendan Lee. Back to you, Tom.
It's not easy to say that, the unofficial, but we're waiting on confirmation. But Lando, I mean, he talks so eloquently, even though he's just won in his eyes. He's media trained, he's ready. Maybe a life in the F1 at some point for Brendan.
Possibly, you never know. Yeah, I think, yeah, you know, he's done a very good job. Mercedes have done well with who they've chosen. And like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of hours which have gone into it, but it's all paid off. So, yeah, double world champion. It's not too bad.
Not bad to put on your Wikipedia page. Listen, gentlemen, obviously with Daniel Beresnay, maybe just a bit too much of a tall order for him, would you say? Or was it just Brendan just showing he's consistent, the dedication's there with the hours he puts into this game and being the best driver?
He's just a bit good, isn't he? It's just relentless every time he's at the front. And like I said before, if not winning, he's second or third and challenging for the win every time. To be honest, I think Daniel did as best as he could. He was second, and if anything happened to Brendan, then he would have picked up the pieces. But there was no stopping him. That was the end.
It wasn't indeed. Matt, when we come back, because we have a break now, we'll talk about that juicy lap 10 where it all went off. It was fantastic to watch further down the field. But right now, we will have a break. When we come back, we'll have all the analysis. And then don't forget, Brendan, he's already running in. He's running in to celebrate. There you go. Fair play. We'll have a break right now. When we come back, we'll have the double points in Abu Dhabi.
I think the season hasn't gone as we wanted or as we expected for multiple reasons. I think the car setups that we had in the first two events weren't really ideal. It took a while to really understand what to do and how to change everything so to make it ideal. It's kind of mixed emotions about the whole season, but you know, maybe for next year it could be much better.
We are trying to, you know, practice every day. It's like 2 or 3 hours per day, because obviously you have a normal life too. You are not grinding the game like 8 hours per day. But you know, we have worked really hard on the setups, because it wasn't ideal to use time trial setups in the first 2 events. And obviously now we know how the game works, how the physics works, how the ERS and stuff like that. So yeah, you need to be prepared a lot, because most of the guys here, they are only playing this game, not other games or sim racing games. So it is quite difficult. But you know, if you want to get some results, you need to concentrate and practice a lot.
After the Pro Draft, our expectations were to be consistent in the top 10, to be consistent in the points, in the better case to be in the top 5 in the constructors, which in the end hasn't really worked out. But yeah, we know we have the pace, we have the potential, we have the skills. So you know, now we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna want to end on a high note, and maybe next year the results could be much better.
The plan is to continue in F1 eSports for the next year.
Yeah, the same thing. I would obviously like to continue, and my dream in sim racing is, you know, to have it as a full-time job. It's really my goal, and I think in the next couple of years it could be possible.
Right then, welcome back to the F1 New Balance Esports Pro Series 2018, and we have just seen the race there where Brendan Lee is not officially, but he's been pretty much crowned Drivers' Champion of 2018, 2 years in a row. Incredible scenes there. Watching him in Austin, USA. Obviously watching the race and the emotion that finally sort of came out from his eyes. Now, I'm in the touchscreen with Matt Gallagher. It's just to say that obviously we're just waiting for that official confirmation. But Matt, incredible race for further down the pack, wasn't there?
Well, officially it was an awesome race, as we saw. We're going to have a look at a couple of not incidents, but just awesome racing. It wasn't for the lead, but it was still fantastic to watch. It was almost for the lead, it was for second place. So Holtzman goes up the inside of Rasmussen. We think it's just an orchestrated bit of team manoeuvres. But then Rasmussen puts himself under pressure from Daniel Berezne. As we see here, look how close that gets. Rasmussen even gets a little touch on the way through. We think Daniel may well go around the outside, but decides against it. But then Frederick decides, oh, actually, I want to have another piece. And it doesn't end there as they continue to battle through this section. And you know, Kota's really just shown to be such a great race for all the way down the field. And this is when Berezne got through on Holtzman. And then we take a look at the other. Well, I mean, how do we even describe this?
I mean, it looks like my birthday party at go-karting about, well, it was a year ago. It was a year ago.
5 people.
Yeah, it was just 5, all 5. Some of them couldn't make it. But what was going on here? It was just neck and neck, and that's really the competition at its best.
Yeah, it was absolute carnage. I mean, Sally Southton was the only one not to get DRS, and well, maybe wasn't invited to your party there because he was the only one that didn't get that straight line advantage, and then it just caused absolute chaos into the next few corners. You had Alvaro Caraton getting penalties. Sally, I think, was one of the only drivers not to get a penalty. Sven came out on top there, but then it was Sally that came out on top of them all because Marcel got a penalty as well. I mean, Codemasters done awesome with their track limits, sort of, you know, maintaining them, making sure that stuff like that gets penalised, because we saw penalties coming left, right and centre, and that's the pressure that these guys were under.
I mean, it was incredible scenes, but obviously
I need a lie down.
Yeah, I know you need a lie down. We can't have a lie down, right? It's a live show. Matthew Gallagher, giving your full name there to tell you off. You can't. But Sven Zerner was fantastic from him, and Renault obviously really needing as many points as possible in the Constructors' Championship.
We say Sven Zerner's done fantastic, and that's exactly when he got the penalty, so that was good timing, Tom. But yeah, it was... Sven had a great race. He was really in the mix, and it was fantastic to watch. And it was great to see all the different constructors that are fighting for third place were all in that battle. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and obviously you're looking at those penalties that are potentially happening left, right and centre. If you're watching at home thinking, what do the adjudicators get to see? Well, I can tell you right now that we can go and find out who Rosanna is with, and she can give us all the latest on that.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, we're in a really exclusive area now. We're in the adjudication room, and I'm joined by the driver steward for the event, Jordan King. Jordan, great to be in here. Thank you for letting us in here.
Yeah, you can't stay too long. We're going to have to kick you out soon, but yeah, you're more than welcome.
Now, you're an IndyCar driver. How important is it to have that racing experience, to be able to be a steward on F1 eSports?
I think it's very important, even in real racing and IndyCar, we have driver stewards as well. So to get someone to come in here, have a look at the incidents from a kind of a real perspective and see, where they're racing. I suppose especially with having experience, 10, 12 years worth of experience, really helps to kind of lean on and say, actually, no, that was that person's fault, or, oh, no, that was fine, let them race, and that sort of thing.
So what have you been looking at? I can see lots of screens behind us. What's the job?
Yeah, so these screens here are all 18 drivers, and we can rewind, fast forward, slow down, pretty much do everything and anything. So if we see an incident, we'll review it, and obviously we want to try and let people race, but if they have done something wrong, we'll give them a penalty or just give them a warning, and if it's really bad, then yeah, the penalty is even worse.
Well, thank you for showing us around the adjudication room. We want lots of fair racing, but we don't want you to be too busy this evening. Jordan, thank you so much. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Rosanna, there with the driver steward, Jordan King. Great to have him on board and a bit of experience there back. Before we move on to our race 10 and the last race of 2018, I want to talk a bit about Fredrik Rasmussen. We mentioned it. He didn't race. He was in second place when it came to round 7 in Hockenheim. But it's just fascinating to look at why he didn't race when he kind of gave the Drivers' Championship to Brendan. There was no competition there. I mean, he's a very calm, collected guy there, but Matt, it seemed quite shocking that he wasn't going to take part in those 2 races.
Well, I couldn't believe it. I was here for those first 2 races, and I was like, where is he? Why is he not racing? And it turns out that Rasmussen felt that his other teammates would be able to perform in the first 2 races, and then he could really focus on America and Abu Dhabi, although America didn't seem to be one of his worst races of the season, so not sure what he's been up to. But it was a shame to see Rasmussen not pull off the fight to Brendan that we also wanted to see.
Because we loved it in Baku, that neck-and-neck race, and then Rasmussen took that win from Brendan Lee. And we thought, here's a possibility, here's a championship, we're going to push it to the wire. But unfortunately, that was taken away from us in the 2 races that we had last night.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't just Baku, it was Paul Ricard as well. So they've had a lot of good races, and Freddie's been one of the guys who's made the races very exciting. And he brought the races to Brendan. So was a shame not to see him up there where he belongs, but I'm sure we'll fight back in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously, you've got a roster with these F1 teams. They come on. That's kind of a bit of sportsmanship and letting his other teammates do the job for him. Or does he need to be a bit more selfish? Maybe next year when we come back and he can really just show... Because we want to see that fight between him and Brendan Lee, don't we?
Well, I think he's certainly shown over the course of the season that he's been the main man for Toro Rosso, really. And between him and Bresnay, they've been the 2 that can sort of race every race at the front against Brendan. So you have to be, in real Formula 1, there's no chance someone's stepping aside. Lando, no, because he's been on there waiting in the wings all year, but you're not going to get a race driver stepping aside to be a good sport. It doesn't happen. But here, it's a bit more friendly environment, and it was nice of him.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we caught up with Toro Rosso earlier on in the week to get all the details, all the gossip, and here it is for you right now.
Number 2, Chen Bolek Bassi. Number 31, Patrick Holtzman.
At the moment, I got picked, I wasn't really aware which team it was. I just wanted to hear my name, be part of the whole process, of the whole story. I'm having a bit of a cold, I'm not crying.
Good job, man. It felt pretty weird. I was not sure if it was real or not, because it was after the draft. Would it be official? Would it be allowed?
Just a big congrats, and we are super excited to see you in our team.
Thank you very much. I was waiting for confirmation, and then I could be happy after that.
It's kind of a weird feeling, to practice with people that you're used to fight. Yeah, it's a whole different life, of course, because we all quit our jobs or school in a way, so we're doing this full time right now. We've become good friends now, and just enjoy every moment to practice with them.
I did feel prepared, but it was a new game. I'm still kind of new to the F1 game, so I'm not sure how it feels to be very fast, but it ended up going pretty well.
normal teams have 2 drivers. We just wanted to use the advantage we had of having 3 drivers.
For this event, or for the upcoming event, setting up the lineup, it was just us saying, I will do this, I will do that, and everybody agreed on that. So that's just a great team spirit.
We've had a great preparation so far. We're looking forward to the final event for sure. I mean, it's the last one, and we still want to prove a point.
You know, if you can control the pressure, that's an ideal situation.
Well, there you go. Those are the guys from Toro Rosso. I find it quite interesting, I have to ask you, Lando and Jolien, because it's a funny old game, because Rasmussen was an extra pick. So he didn't think he was even going to be picked at one point, and then he goes to prove that he's got the capabilities to compete. And I think anyone watching is thinking, do you know what, I think I'm pretty nifty on the track, and there will be qualifiers. So if you go to f1esports.com, get involved, because next year there will be an opportunity for you to get involved. But it is funny how they decided Chen would be better for those 2 races. And do you think they were sort of focusing on the drivers, well, the Constructors' Championship?
Well, I guess it's preparation time as well, because Freddie Rasmussen, for example, could prepare fully on Kota, the race that we've just seen, and Abu Dhabi as well. So it's Brendan winning the title said, you know, the hours of hard work and practice they put in, it just, you can focus your mind on different races. So there's an advantage there, but yeah, it's just so competitive. There's everyone that is racing is extremely good, and it's really tough to know who the first pick is, really. Over the course of the season, you start to see it, but it's decided by hundredths or tenths, really.
Yeah, he is going to be on pole position for our next race, which is Abu Dhabi, and obviously it's double points. I believe Rosanna is with Rasmussen right now.
I certainly am. Freddie, I know you love an interview with me.
Yes.
We'll keep it short then, Freddie. Everybody has been watching you. You've been in the spotlight. People say you're a good sport, but how have you been dealing with not racing, now racing?
I've been enjoying it. It's fun to watch the teammates drive instead of me. Yeah.
And of course on pole now, so you can really go for it, just to push the point home at the end.
Yes, hopefully it goes well, the race. The last one, I have no idea what happened at Kota. Some sort of tire wear issue, so hopefully that doesn't happen now.
Well, I know you're looking forward to more interviews with me next season. Back to you, Tom.
So am I, and I think everybody at home is as well. Listen, Rasmussen is one of the guys who had the opportunity to threaten this season, but hasn't quite had the consistency. Matt, you've been looking at another contender.
I have indeed. Fabrizio Donato Delgado, we're going to have a look at exactly what these guys have been suffering from, slowing down coming into the pits. It seems to be a very simple thing to do, hit a speed limit and slow down, but it doesn't seem to be that way with a lot of the drivers we saw in America. And unfortunately, we're going to use Fabrizio Donato, who has suffered through that. Silverstone, he was fighting for the victory and then gets a 5-second stop-go penalty, which turns into a 15-second penalty because a lot of the drivers decide not to do it. But if we go back to the beginning, we will just kind of analyse where they have to slow down because it's not particularly clear. So Codemasters have the job of making it as close to reality as possible, and one of the things is the pit stop line. So you can see it right there, 60 kilometres an hour. If you don't slow down, you get penalised. And there you can see 68 is what Fabrizio Donato was going, which you might think, oh, it's not that much. He's not really gaining an advantage, but he is. It's 8 kilometres an hour more than the competitors. So it's something that they seem to really be struggling with, something that maybe they weren't listening to in the driver's briefing. Tom, would you slow down for the pit lane?
Well, listen, Matt, I'll be honest with you, I was reading my script then, I didn't hear what you said. Just going to be honest with you, but I appreciate the 8 kilometres an hour banter that we will chat after the show. But listen, so much is still on the way. We've got Abu Dhabi and double points at stake. And listen, plenty of the drivers looking to put their hand up in the final race of the day and show their pedigree in this championship. We had a Williams driver on podium in Singapore yesterday. They also had the first pick in the first ever eSports draft.
This season so far has been pretty up and downs. Like like in race 1 I finished on podium, and then after 3 races after that I got 0 points. So even though I had chances for points,
we haven't shown really our true potential yet, because we've had kind of bad luck and bad races. We still can be third in the championship, and I hope this event and final one go better. Driving for Williams, it's obviously amazing, because last year I couldn't imagine that I would be part of a Formula 1 team, and now I'm here, and yeah, the factory, the people that are working behind the car, it's just another level, and it's just amazing.
We played like before we joined Williams. We've been like rivals on track as well, so we kind of know like how we drive against each other. So it's not really been like anything surprising, but obviously when he's my teammate now, I obviously know him a bit more.
I know him from the past. I know what are their strengths, what he has to focus more, and what I have to focus more.
I think Alvaro just has the raw pace in him and deliver that like in qualifying as well. But then sometimes he's a bit too aggressive in my opinion, but on time we're gonna work on that for sure. So, yeah, but he's a good guy.
Thank you.
Yes, you are good.
I just need to improve. I have the talent, I think I have the talent, I have the pace, but I have to think more and get more experience, and I hope I can come back stronger next year.
Well, that's nice to know that Alvaro Clariton is a good guy. Sorry, Matt, what did you ask me?
Would you slow down for the pit lane?
Well, obviously I'd slow down for the pit lane.
Good, thanks for answering.
Good, I'm glad we've cleared that up. Listen, gentlemen, we move on to our last race of the night, Abu Dhabi. Double points up for grabs and double the length in terms of the amount of laps that these guys will be doing. Now, what does that sort of do to the drivers in terms of their mental space and what they need to do to drive the extra bit of distance and tactics involved in that?
So you might be thinking, oh, double the race distance, maybe these guys won't be prepared, but these guys, 25% is short for them. So 50% is more kind of what they do on a week-to-week basis. You know, they league race a lot. So 50% is probably actually what they have practiced more over the course of their sort of league racing careers and sim careers. So I don't see these guys really suffering too much with it, but it will sort of open up the strategy a lot more. We'll be able to see a little bit more sort of variation with that. So it could be interesting to see the undercut, the overcut, the middle cut, whatever.
All of the cuts. Lando, in terms of a longer race, they won't be sort of trying to get overtake as quickly. We might see a sort of more steady race from them.
You could do. Obviously, you know, it's a much longer race, and therefore you don't want to wear out your tyres too quickly. So, you know, you have more scope, more opportunity to go longer in the race or pit earlier. So it's, I think it can throw out a lot of opportunities. I doubt there will be any two stops. But yeah, hopefully it can prove some more good racing.
And for Abu Dhabi, Jadin, what sort of tyres would they be likely to use and to try and get the maximum amount? Because double points are at stake. They need that for the Constructors' Championship.
Well, they've all tended to start on the softest tyre and then go to the next one up, basically, which is kind of what we see in proper Formula One as well. I think what's going to be interesting is the track limits. In Austin, the last race, there was a lot of track limits penalties. And in fact, Abu Dhabi is a circuit that lends itself very much to that as well, with a lot of concrete tarmac runoffs. So that's going to be an interesting point, I think, and especially with double the length, there's double the time to exceed the track limits.
Yeah, and we're still waiting for the official results to definitely crown Brendan Lee the champion for 2018. But Matt, when we looked at Abu Dhabi, you've got this race that's in mind. How are the drivers going to sort of approach Abu Dhabi? Are we going to see a lot more overtakes because those points are at stake?
Well, I think when you're Brendan Lee, Mercedes, Toro Rosso, I think they kind of almost feel the pressure's been relieved a little bit. I think the Mercedes are very much home and dry in terms of the constructors and the drivers. But then you've got this intense battle, which we saw in America, between the third all the way down to sixth. So I think that will continue. I think we'll see a massive scrap between those guys because they're so closely matched. I was speaking to the drivers earlier, and they were saying how one bad lap in qualifying could mean they could start maybe fifth as their pace, and they'll be starting 17th because there's 3 tenths between the lot of them. So there's a lot of pressure because double points, they could go from 3rd to 7th in the constructors.
Yeah, let's have a look at the provisional sort of championship at the moment, how it stands with those results from USA. And as you can see, this is race 9. These are the provisional, so it hasn't been stamped, but it's very certain there. And you see Daniel Beresny, and in terms of the drivers down towards 10th, Bono Huis, we haven't seen the best of him at times, so he'll be trying to, because we're looking forward to 2019. I think that's what everyone does in F1 and especially in eSports. We're looking forward to, like, right, how can we get better for next year? They'll be trying to prove a point, won't they, when we come to Abu Dhabi?
I think you know the guys from McLaren quite well, don't you? I think, for me, looking at those guys, Lando, they are sim racing champions, experts, and they're still learning the game, aren't they?
Yeah, like, I don't know who said it earlier, but Freddie, I think, said it, that not a lot of these drivers have always driven F1. I think they've come from different platforms, so it's, R-Factor, iRacing, so on. And it's not an easy step to go from one to the other. They handle differently, set up changes, do different things. So it does take a bit of time to get used to another game, another platform. And maybe some people have more of an advantage, people who have done it last year, compared to the guys who haven't. So there are little things like that which can play an advantage.
Yeah, and Julian, obviously there's pride at stake as well. So those Drivers' Championship that we're seeing at the moment, obviously add those extra points. Surely the drivers who are almost there or thereabouts to finish in the top 10 will be going for it.
Absolutely, but everyone wants to finish the season on a high. This is, with any sport really, the last one is a nice one to finish with a good result. And of course, double points, longer race. There's a lot at stake, and the midfield battle is going to be extremely close. And of course, the sort of heading into the long winter and all again for next year.
Of course, and proving that they are capable and should be on another roster for an F1 team. It's interesting that Fredrik Rasmussen will start in pole, and then Brendan Lee's in second. Now, we know Brendan will not be taking the foot off the gas, and I mean that in both senses of everything, but because he wants to win and he wants to absolutely smash the opponents that are out there, doesn't he?
Well, we've seen Brendan, he shakes his finger at not getting fastest laps, so I think Brendan will very much want to win this race by half a minute if he can, and if he doesn't have a perfect race, he probably won't be happy, but that's the great mentality to have. He always strives to be better and better and better. But then again, we've got Rasmussen, who had a pretty dire race in comparison to a lot of his races at USA, so I think he'll be wanting to strike back at Abu Dhabi and maybe finish the race, or the season, with a victory.
Well, Event 2 was fantastic because we added something new, which is called the Grid Walk. I loved it, everyone loved it, so we brought it back. Rosanna, you're about to start the Grid Walk for us.
I love the Grid Walk. Thank you, Tom. And with Joni Tomala, Joni, you just said to me before we started the interview, this is going to be a battle. Is that what you're really expecting then?
Yeah, I'm expecting a battle because it's a 50% race and the tire wear is really high on that track, so yeah, it will be interesting.
For some people, for this race, it's all about the Constructors' Championship, but for you, the Drivers' Championship is still really important.
Well, the Constructors is the main thing, of course. We still have the chance to take P3 in the championship, but yeah, it would be cool to get top 5 in the drivers as well. So yeah, we'll see.
You're after those bragging rights. Have a good race, Joni.
Thank you.
Okay, right, let's wiggle down the... hello, everybody. Don't worry, Freddie, I'm not coming near you. Okay. Ali, how are you doing? How are you?
I'm all right.
I've made it down to you. This is super important for Sauber, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We, as Red Bull, we also still have the chance to get third in the constructors. So if you can get that, that'll be really good.
And do you enjoy this track?
Not really, but in practice it's been going all right. So we'll see.
Well, I like your honesty. Have a great race. Down to you, Matt. Where are you?
I am with Marcel Kiefer. Hello, Marcel. Have you recovered from what just happened in America? Because you were very much in the thick of all of that.
Definitely. I'm ready for Abu Dhabi. It was a bit of a mess, but it is what it is. That is racing. Now we are focusing on the next race.
You're calmer than I am after America. So, Abu Dhabi, what are we thinking for this? It's obviously a 50% race. We've been chatting about how that can change a lot of the strategy, and it's a longer race. So what are you looking towards in this race?
The double points. And yeah, just doing my job, just focusing, driving my own race, and the strategy will be a big part of it. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Perfect, Marcel. You've actually done really well these last few races, so you're my favourite. Now, I'm glad this is before Christmas, so I can go behind here. Alvaro, hello, how are you?
Well, not really good at the moment.
I was going to say, you had even more of a hectic race than Marcel over there. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, there were like 4 or 5 cars all together. Yeah, I had the bad part. I had a little contact with Sven, and my wing was damaged. And then again with Sven, I missed the braking point because of the front wing damage, and that's it. That's how the race gone. Yeah.
How are we looking towards Abu Dhabi? Double points, everything on the line. You could push Williams up the constructors' standings with a good result. How's the heart rate?
Yeah, we are starting from the back of the grid, and I hope it rains or something happens.
Rains in Abu Dhabi?
Yes, I hope so. It's difficult, but I hope so. Yeah.
Rain in Abu Dhabi, Tom?
I'm hoping for rain in Abu Dhabi. Bono was laughing there as well, enjoying it. Listen, Bono, it's not been, at times it's been quite challenging for you, but 6th on the grid, you must feel a bit confident to end this double points.
Yeah, finally decent qualifying for us, so I'm hoping to do a good race now, because we've always gone forward in the races. from our qualifying position. So to start at the front now, it's going to be different. But yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, for McLaren Shadow, it hasn't necessarily been, you haven't had the luck when you've needed the luck. It's been against you. But are you feeling lucky for Abu Dhabi, Bono?
I hope so. I mean, our championship has been cursed, basically. We had so much bad luck. It's unbelievable. So hopefully something will finally go our way.
Okay, Bono, listen, I hope it's a beautiful day for you in Abu Dhabi. Right, I'm going to head over to Enzo here. Starting in 12th, I feel like you've been the unluckiest driver. But these things happen. You thinking about next year and obviously after this double-point race?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, it happens. Now we just need to look forward, like you said. Hopefully next year will be better for us.
Yeah, and do you reckon, like Alvaro said, there could be rain in Abu Dhabi?
Maybe.
Well, we'll see. Best of luck to you, Enzo. Right, Jack, Davide, you didn't get to go on the grid walk, but you can still be part of it. Out of the drivers, who do you feel most confident about?
I'm quite excited to see how Bono Ruiz does, mainly so we can sort of forget about the horrible pun you threw in there. I think it's going to be a fascinating battle between Rasmussen and Brendan Lee. I mean, we've seen wheel-to-wheel action with them throughout the whole series. The championship isn't on the line in terms of the drivers, but to win the final race would be great.
Yeah, and Rasmussen, we need to consider that he will start from pole position.
Yeah.
In third in the championship, so he can aim to end up second. And he was incredibly shy on the camera before. So I push a bit for Rasmussen because I need a bit of support, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to be racing on this Abu Dhabi circuit, the real final race of the Formula One season. Here's a look at it. As ever, split into 3 sectors. Again, good for overtaking on those long DRS zones into the little chicanes.
Yeah, you're right. And then chicane in the middle, and so they prepare the driver, the attack for the next long straight, and then very hard brake. So it will be interesting, the second sector for the overtakes.
And so this is how the grid will line up. Pole position for Frederick Rasmussen then, and he is just in front of Brendan Lee by 1/10 of a second. Daniel Beresnay in third in the other Mercedes, ahead of Alec van der Waal, who did a good job for the Sauber team to qualify in 4th. Best qualifying of the season for Bono Ruiz, who starts in 6th, just behind Yoni Tormala. Then it's Marcel Kiefer in 7th, ahead of Patrick Holtzman. Graham Carroll completing the top 10. Then just outside of the top 10, we got Sven Zerner, who had a great race in America, getting involved in all of those fights. Tino Nakarinen and Martin Stefanko a little bit further back, and Michael Schmidl there completing the top 16. And on the back row of the grid, Alvaro Caraton and Kimi Larsen not able to set a lap time in qualifying, so he will start at the back of the grid. So that battle on the opening lap between Brendan Lee and Frederick Rasmussen for the lead, I think, is going to be absolutely thrilling. How important is it for these guys in the early laps? Because it's a longer race. It's a 50% race distance. It'll be 45, 50 minutes long.
Extremely important to achieve the leading at the beginning. And you need to consider that Rasmussen will be on the outside line just for the first corner. So not in easy condition to approach the race.
Okay, so just one more race to go in the 2018 F1 eSports Pro Series. And it'll be coming up just after the break.
We had our ups and downs, but we've been progressing, especially in event 2. We've got brought in solid results.
The experience in this event has been pretty good. We've progressed well since the first event, and we're actually fighting for 3rd place in the constructors, so really looking forward to it.
Not gonna lie, it wasn't easy being picked last after seeing Alec and Sally being picked. I was sitting there really emotional. I was like, oh, great. I'm sitting here with all the drivers ahead of, well, the guys ahead of me, and didn't really think I'd be picked, but it turned out to be really good, and to be in the same team as Sally, as my brother, and then we've got a really close friend with Alec, so the chemistry is there. That's why we're a solid team.
It was actually pretty amazing because, well, so much being last pick made it more dramatic than it should have been perhaps, but no, it was actually pretty cool, and we had a moment at the end as well, and yeah, overall just both of us just working towards our dream for years and years, and to be in the same team is special, obviously, and yeah, just a great moment. We always had our rivalry. We raced against each other in the past, but now racing together, some things are still there, but yeah, overall just working together, pushing, and bringing in good results.
It's not any different to what it was in the past, but it's definitely more competitive.
We both grew up wanting to beat each other, so, and watching idols win as well, like Hamilton, Alonso, so yeah, we've always wanted to win. The mentality's always been winning, and yeah, not winning now is obviously painful, but next season we will come stronger. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, it's been perfect, because it hasn't, but obviously there's a lot of room for improvement. Yeah, just the aim right now is to put in a 10 out of 10 performance for the last event, try and get at least top 3 in the constructors, and yeah, move on to next season.
Well, as you can see in front of you, that is Brendan Lee celebrating, exasperated, knackered from that race in the USA. And he was waiting, as we all are, for the official results to confirm that he is the 2018 New Balance F1 Esports Pro Series champion. But gentlemen, something I want to talk about is obviously we've gone through the assessments that we had in Silverstone. We then had the draft where these drivers got picked by the F1 teams. And what's going to be happening now is people around the world are going to be watching thinking, I reckon I've got the minerals. I reckon I can come here and drive as well as these guys. And then that's what these F1 teams are going to be looking for, is new talent, hot on the heels of these drivers. So really, Abu Dhabi, this race we go into with double points, is an opportunity for these drivers to say, hey, you don't need another person on this roster. You know, I'm going to be your guy.
Definitely. You know, they want to be here next year, I think. Or a lot of people do. So it's, you know, you want to be able to, you know, at least be your teammate. I think that's one important thing, is always to be better than your teammate. And you don't want to cause any controversy and get into fights and not get along. But yeah, if you want your job, you got to beat your teammate. So they'll be trying to do that, especially to end the season, to make sure they're here next year.
Yeah. What's that kind of pressure like, Julian? You know, you've been an F1 driver. What's that pressure like in yourself to go, I know what I'm capable of doing, and now I have to prove it almost? You're constantly being evaluated.
Yeah, it's pretty huge, and small mistakes have a big outcome as well. And it's the same for these guys, a little knock of a front wing, going over the track limits, getting a bad start. We saw the speeding in the pit lane. There's so many things to go wrong, and the level is so high as well. So, yeah, the pressure's pretty huge, but I just think they're doing such a good job, all of them, really. It's super impressive.
It's incredible to watch. I'll just ask Lando you this, because the McLaren Shadow guy that I just spoke to, Enzo, he's had the worst luck that you could hope on a driver that's been not getting off the grid, a full start, there's the opportunity to hit debris. I mean, when does that happen in Singapore? But it's happened, the flat tyre. He hasn't had the best of luck. How does he just go into this race and go, do you know what, I know what I'm capable of doing? How does he prepare himself for this?
Well, he has been very, very unfortunate. I think the puncture he had yesterday was one of the only punctures they've had in this game for like the last 2 years. So, yeah, it's unfortunate events.
But will McLaren Shadow, in your experience, be looking at that and going, look, we know you're capable, come back next year, you know, we know that you can perform, it just hasn't happened this year?
That's not for me to decide.
Okay.
But, you know, he's a very good driver. I've raced him a couple of times. He's beaten me most of them, not all of them. But
good point, yeah.
So I could be in next year, you never know.
Yeah,
I could be here.
I think you're going to be busy next year, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Driving for McLaren F1. Matt, obviously, frustrating for these drivers because they know they're like maybe 1 second off, maybe those little mistakes are so costly. You saw with Delgado with the pit stop. He would be kicking himself for quite a while after that because he knew he could have beaten Brendan Lee, and that's what these drivers are facing.
Yeah, especially if Force India don't finish as high as they maybe wanted to in the constructors, they'll look back and think, okay, could we have, you know, well, could I have stopped for the pit line, because that cost him a bundle of points. And it is frustrating, but that's what these guys are doing. They are at the absolute limit of their skill, that they are pushing for every half a tenth. And going into the pits, you can gain a couple of tenths if you brake just that little bit later and you're a bit more aggressive. We saw it with Sven Zerner, although he got a penalty as well. But he was still trying to make it happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Abu Dhabi.
Well, they are not going to hold back in this race, I can assure you. Double points, 50% of the lap distance. And I can actually throw up now to Jack and Davide, who are going to look after this race.
We will, to the best of our abilities. Thank you very much, Tom. The final race of 2018 then about to get underway. It's going to be frenetic because this is actually where kind of the money gets decided. The teams are all in this for fun and taking part and whatever. But there's points to be won, there's prizes to be won, there's cash to be won, and it's so tight for sort of third, fourth, fifth place and that sort of part. Here's a look at it. So you get $50,000, the teams this is, for winning the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes looked pretty strong there. Pretty close as well, or pretty safe as well for Toro Rosso in second. But third downwards is incredibly tight. We heard the guys talking about it there. Red Bull are in the fight. Force India are in the fight. Everybody's in the
Sauber
fight.
is
Sauber
still
in the
there,
fight. Yeah.
fighting for the podium position. So will be extremely important. One for the drivers, because they need to perform well to have the place and the seat for the next season. And one for the teams.
Here's as it stands at the moment. So you can see Mercedes and Toro Rosso looking strong, but 2 points between Force India and Sauber. Red Bull aren't far away, considering it's 50 points for a race win. Renault at the moment 7 points away from Haas as they battle to be not the team that doesn't get any money come the end of the series. So that's how close it is. So keep an eye out especially for the Force India, Sauber, Red Bull scrap. It's going to be absolutely entertaining between them. So it looks as though we are about to get going. For the final time in 2018, we're about to have racing in the F1 New Balance eSports Series of 2018. Rasmussen on pole, Brendan Lee alongside him. All 5 lights are on. And we're racing in Abu Dhabi. Who's going to get the best start? A lot of wheel spin, and here comes Brendan Lee up the inside for Mercedes, and he's into the lead of the race, surely. Yes, Rasmussen goes out very wide and holds the lead of the race. That might be a little finger wag for Brendan Lee there. Beresnay in third, Alain van der Waal in fourth, fifth for Joni Tormela, sixth for Bono Quis, and look at that, he's giving the place back there, Frederick Rasmussen. He knew that wasn't particularly great, so he has handed back the race lead to Brendan Lee. Rasmussen second, third for Beresnay. Sensible driving there from Frederick Rasmussen.
Yeah, he tried Rasmussen on the outside, and then he stayed flat out. He used all the escape road, maybe it was wrong, and so he gave back the position. Well done to Rasmussen, but Lee, did you saw how he opened the line? Beresnay now is putting pressure on Rasmussen for the second position.
Alain van der Waal doing a good job in fourth place for the Sauber team. Fifth is Joni Tormela, sixth is Bono Quis, so they are pretty much where they started now. Rasmussen's under big pressure for second place. Whoa, the door's closed, the door's closed, Daniel. Oh, he's found the room. Great little dummy, but can't quite get the job done there. He was determined to get the inside line, wasn't he?
Yeah, he tried twice or 3 times, but I think that
off is Marcel Kiefer, and off is Patrick Holtzman. He's out of the race for Toro Rosso. A big collision further back there, and Sven Zerner was caught up in that too. Martin Stefanko, I think, has got involved as well. All sorts of chaos, and that was coming out down into, I think, turn 11. And this, meanwhile, is Daniel Beresnay still in third place. Holtzman definitely out of the race.
And the crash was big, and I think that so many cars, they have some damage now, and so we need to check it out, the standings in the next few laps, because I think that some drivers, they are going to suffering. And look, 4 drivers in the pit, 5 drivers in the pit stop.
Joni Tormela in the pits as well. He was actually running quite high up the order. Here we go on board with Daniel Beresnay. In the bottom right is the Hungarian, as he comes now into the left-hander at turn 7 that takes him out on the back straight. Still no DRS yet on lap 2 of 28, 50% race distance. He might be able to close in here without the DRS. Getting a bit of a slipstream coming up towards the first chicane. Rasmussen decides not to cover the inside line, and Beresnay decides not to go for the overtake, maybe on the next straight.
It's important to prepare this exit for the second straight. Oh, maybe he's going to try, because seems close enough. Yeah!
Graham Carroll up the inside there of Alvaro Caraton. The Red Bull driver goes through. An impressive move from Graham Carroll, who's had a frustrating season so far. The former real-life racing driver, raced in Formula Ford in Scotland for a number of years, and now he's managed to get up into 7th spot ahead of Alvaro Caraton. Only just, though, the Williams driver, the Spaniard who we heard from earlier on, still putting up a bit of a fight to try and get past Carroll.
Caraton is 8th, and he started last, he started 17th. How he could recover so many positions in 2 laps. Very well done for Caraton. That is putting pressure on Carroll for a very good position.
And 2 cars off further back. Who was that? I think that's Enzo Benito running wide, and Sven Zerner going side by side as well. DRS is now enabled. Caraton must have taken advantage of everyone pitting and crashing, and that's why he now is all the way up in 8th position. Donoso and Graham Carroll come into the pits as well. So these are very early pit stops.
Yeah, probably it's too early. I think that they are going to suffer so much with the challenge degradation at the end of the race. I don't think that was a clever maneuver, but we check it out at the end. Carroll and Donoso, they just had the pit stop, and Sven Zerner also is in the pit, so I don't know, we check it out at the end, but probably it's too early. Look, Beresnay is going to try to Rasmussen.
He is right behind Rasmussen. He's got the DRS now. You heard that little beep. That means he can open the flap in the rear wing. Rasmussen doesn't really defend. Confident he can get it and hold it on the brakes all the way around the outside. He might be able to do it, and he does. Very impressive stuff from Rasmussen. But again, he's going to be under pressure now as they come down the second straight. Covers the inside line. Beresnay in the Mercedes. Looks to the outside. Rasmussen is going to have a long, long day ahead of him if he's going to continue this fight. Beresnay runs out of room and has to slot in behind again.
Anyway, Rasmussen was perfect in the defending because he chose the line very well. And look, on his side, easy and smooth maneuver, but no, he's resisting on the outside.
This is Enzo Benito battling with Alvaro Caraton now. Bono Huis is up into 5th place. Caraton is in front of Benito and up into 6th position. This is a wonderful drive from the Spaniard, Alvaro Caraton.
It was just perfect. He started 17th. He used the advantage of the driver that created the incident in the first lap, and then now he's performing very well. So well done to Caraton. Fantastic recovery from the last row.
Only 17 years of age, Alvaro Caraton, relatively new to sim racing, the young man from Seville, but here now is this battle with Caraton on the left-hand side. We're on board with Enzo Benito as they go side by side over the line. Benito in the orange McLaren. Can't get it done around the outside, gets the cut back though, and is going to be back into 6th place before too long. So there we go, Benito back up into 6th spot. Good little scrap between the McLaren and the Williams, and that's allowing Martin Stefanko into the fight as well. That is Enzo Benito in the bottom right, the Italian racer for the McLaren team. The Race of Champions, E-Race of Champions winner last year. And meanwhile, this is Daniel Beresnay again, still trying to get past Frederick Rasmussen. Bono Huis is now into 4th place, past Alec van der Waal. So Bono Huis now only 4 seconds away from the podium. Beresnay not close enough in 2nd place though yet.
He lost a bit the momentum, Beresnay. Seems that 2 laps ago he was much quicker than Rasmussen. He was much closer. He lost the chance there because Rasmussen defended very well. But now seems that he's losing a bit of time. He's still there on the DRS zone, but not close enough, Beresnay, to try to overtake Rasmussen.
Lap 4 of 28 in the final race of the season in the F1 New Balance eSports Series of 2018. That's Alec van der Waal, who is in 5th place, trying to close down Bono Huis in front of him. The 24-year-old Dutchman in the McLaren, with Alec van der Waal, another Dutchman, right behind him as they come into the final corner at turn 20. Huis is now starting to build a bit of a gap, I think, in that 4th place. You can see Alec van der Waal a second slower than his previous best lap time as the tyres start to go away.
You can use overtake to get past.
You can use overtake to get past, so that means he's got, you can see at the top there, it's gone, but it was the fuel mix, and he's got almost 2 laps more fuel than he needs, so he can afford to use a little bit more. Into the pits as well now has come Alvaro Caraton in the Williams. I wonder if we're seeing some 2-stop strategies here in this race. We've been used to seeing 1 stop in the 25% race distances, but we may be looking at 2 stops, and that explains the early pit stops that we're seeing, apart from all the guys that had a massive crash.
Yeah, probably can be one of the idea of the drivers that had the pit so early, trying to have a very fresh tires at the end and explode all the speed. And look at here, seems that is close enough. Extremely important, this chicane, last high pin before the main straight. You need the exit very close to the car in front of you. Try to open the gas very early to stay in the DRS zone. Yes, he will have the use of the DRS and probably is going to try the attack.
On board with Graham Carroll in the Red Bull, closing in on the Sauber of Sally Southtuck. They're out of the points positions at the minute, but Carroll cruises past, coming down and then moves back over to take the racing line. He got so far in front. Good move there. It's good news for Sauber as far as the team's championship is concerned, with Alec van der Waal up in 5th, but all of the others in that fight are sort of a bit hit and miss, really, aren't they, with the Red Bull drivers in 9th and 11th. And this is Sally Southtuck trying to fight back on Graham Carroll, but not quite close enough. And the other Sauber of Sally Southtuck out of the points as well at the moment. And Marcel Kiefer down in 16th, and Fabrizio Donoso in 10th place.
They were not lucky because they had the incident during the first lap.
Yeah.
Kiefer was the one that was involved, and the first lap crashed, and he lost the chance to perform very well. In the last few races, he was strong enough to achieve the podium, but he missed it. And today, still another unlucky race for Marcel Kiefer, that is running in the penultimate position at the moment. Ultima, he retired.
You can see the tyres they're using on the left-hand side there. So it is the two Hasses are looking in a strong position, actually. 7th and 8th for Martin Stefanko and Michael Schmidl, but they're on the harder compound of tyre compared to the race leaders, so that might play into the hands of Haas a little bit later over the course of this race. We're on board with Marcel Kiefer, who is trying to fight back after being involved in the chaos on the opening lap. He's up behind Tino Naukkarinen in the Williams, so late on the brakes coming into that chicane. And just in front of them is the other Williams, isn't it, of Tino Naukkarinen. So this is 15th, 16th and 17th, all right together on the circuit. They're not too far behind Kimi Larsen either, as they come down the back straight. And the three of them are going to get DRS, and Kimi Larsen is not, so he might get a little bit swamped before too long. But Brendan Lee still leading the way, 2.7 seconds clear of Frederick Rasmussen on lap 6 of 28. Beresnay half a second back from Rasmussen, so that fight's still going, but Beresnay hasn't been able to make the move yet. This could get interesting here. Is anyone going to be close enough for a move? Not just yet. The Williams, the Force India, and then the other Williams.
Not an easy condition for Kiefer in the middle of the Williams, but both of the drivers, they are using the DRS. So when you're following a car that is using the DRS, it's not so easy. Try the attack, and he's struggling a bit for this reason.
Kimi Larsen is going to get swamped up by them before too long. Kiefer's looking very quick. In fact, both Kiefer and Caraton are looking faster than Tino Naukkarinen in 15th place. A shame for this season, Tino Naukkarinen. He was incredibly strong in the, and he's just got a 3-second time penalty as well for exceeding track limits. A little shake of the head for the Finn, but he was so quick in the Pro Draft series, but it hasn't quite come together for him in the actual proper series that we're in now, as we go on board with Marcel Kiefer in 16th place.
Now he's going to try, because look, extremely important here, but look the line that they are using. They are using, well, look, they use multi-track. Try to don't be with the four wheels out of the white line. This exit extremely important for Kiefer. Seems close enough. I hear Renault is going to do it. He's going to do it on the inside with the DRS.
Past Sally Southern with the DRS. Alain van der Waals be given a 3-second time penalty. He's in 5th place. Well, a bit of a lock-up from Sven Zerner, but he gets it stopped. And now here's Marcel Kiefer. He's got the inside line, and he's going through past Tino Naukkarinen and up into 15th place then for the Force India driver, and now Naukkarinen is going to lose out to Alvaro Caraton as well. The two Williams slipstreaming each other down the next little straight, and Marcel Kiefer's next target will be the Renault in front. And this is on board with Tino Naukkarinen, who has lost 2 places. Can Caraton keep with Kiefer as well as they try and climb up the field? Lap 7 of 28 in the final race of the season.
We saw a 3-second penalty for Van der Waals, but we need to think that maybe this penalty is not so heavy in this kind of race, because it's double length, and so you can have the chance to open the gap 3 seconds to the car that is following you and not losing the position. So Van der Waals has to keep the focusing and try to achieve this position, because at the moment he's running 5th and he has 6-second advantage to Enzo Bonito, 7th.
And if you get the penalty before the pit stop, you serve it in the pit stop as well. So once these guys who get their 3-second time penalties, whatever, once they're in the pits, that's when it's served, so they come out where they should be, and it won't be post-race penalties applied. Here now comes Alvaro Caraton. He's going to be super close to the back of Kiefer as they come out. He's so fast through that chicane every single time. And now he'll take a nice wide line into the hairpin, try and get on the power as soon as possible. And this should be a fairly straightforward move for Caraton for 15th place.
Also because he prepared very well the exit. He opened the line at the entry of the hairpin. He was perfect at the exit, and look, using the stream, and then the DRS, outside.
Wow, what a move that will be from Caraton if he can pull it off, the back end sliding, but he's got it done. That was absolutely fantastic from Alvaro Caraton. Sent it in sideways, and now the Force India, though, is going to fight back. Kiefer looks to the outside. Tino Naukkarinen is going to try and get in the fight as well. Kiefer around the outside in the Force India. They're both in super late. Kiefer's pushed off the track, cut straight across. That's one for the stewards. That's Palmer Alonso-esque, that one.
50-50, but Kiefer is going to give the position back. Not easy, because he has the teammate of Caraton that he got the position. Kiefer was not so clever in that maneuver.
Tino Naukkarinen then up in front of Marcel Kiefer, who drops back behind the two Williams, having been in front of them a couple of moments ago. This is all over 15th place, but it's lovely.
What a fight! Yeah, that was very interesting. Kiefer was defending the position very well at that break, but that maybe was forced by Carreton to use the escape road. He thought to be wrong and he gave the position back. But now Karinen, he got the chance and he took the position to Kiefer.
Lap 9 of 28 in the final race of the season. Brendan Lee still leading, 1.8 seconds clear of Frederick Rasmussen, who's managed to build the gap to Daniel Beresnay up to 1.6 seconds. Bono Cuisse still running in 4th place for McLaren. 5th is Alec van der Waal in the Sauber, but he has got a 3-second time penalty that he'll be serving in his pit stop. Enzo Benito in 6th, Stefanko, Schmidl, Tormela and Donoso the top 10.
Checking the standings, Rasmussen is gaining on Brendan Lee.
Yeah.
It was 2 seconds, 0.8, and now it drops down to 1.7.
Michael Schmidl's been given a time penalty here now. Up the inside goes Fabrizio Donoso Delgado. He sent that in too deep. That allows the cutback for the Red Bull of Joni Tormela, and he holds on to 9th position. Good little squabble, whatever here. And Sven Zerner's been given a 3-second time penalty as well. But this is all over 9th place as it stands. Joni Tormela in 9th in the Red Bull. Fabrizio Donoso Delgado and Marcel Kiefer a 3-second time penalty too.
Not an easy condition for them because they are fighting, and when you do the overtakes it's easier to miss the brake and to go outside with the 4 wheels from the white line, and so they were a bit unlucky also.
But you're right about the race lead. Look, it's down to 1.2 seconds now. Frederick Rasmussen is almost in DRS range of Brendan Lee. Was he just looking after his tyres a little in the opening part of this stint, or is Brendan Lee starting to struggle now? We'll keep an eye out on that gap.
I don't know, to be honest, but Brendan Lee, if he's struggling with tires, it's not so easy to manage the condition, because look, lap 10 out of 28. If you pit now, maybe it's too early.
Yeah.
You need to wait a bit more, but the contender, your rival, Rasmussen, is gaining on you, so not an easy condition for Brendan Lee to choose the best strategy.
Bono Cuisse is closing on Daniel Beresnay as well. That gap has come down to 3.6 seconds, so it's this man here. Frederick Rasmussen is the man on the charge. As you can see, the top 8 have yet to pit. Everybody else has pitted through a mixture of strategy and damage. Fabrizio Donoso Delgado, the next man to get a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Brendan Lee pits. Into the pit lane comes Brendan Lee, then the race leader. Frederick Rasmussen decides to stay out. This is the continuing battle between Fabrizio Donoso and Joni Tormela. Then you've got Carroll, Zerner and Sally Sautok behind. But Frederick Rasmussen takes the lead of the race away. It's the super soft tyres now for Brendan Lee. He has a little check of the scoreboards as he makes his way out of the pits and the timing screens. But where is he going to come out in terms of traffic as well? Because that could cost him.
Yeah, you're right. It can be the key moment of the race. Check it out, the Brendan Lee out lap from the pit lane. And the lap of Frederick Rasmussen that is leading the race now. He's not having any reference in front of him, just free space. He needs to push to try to achieve the leading just after the pit stop.
Is it easier with free space in front of you, or is it easier to follow a car as like you're chasing?
In theory, before was a perfect condition. You have the leader, you have the best driver in the world at the moment, you have the champion of 2018 just in front of you, and you are gaining. Perfect situation to say, today, I'm the boss, man.
So we're on board with now. That was a good one. He's up behind Joni Tormela. The Red Bull driver doesn't cover the inside, and that allows Fabrizio Donoso Delgado up the inside. He has got a 3-second time penalty, and the Red Bull will try and fight back down the next straight now. It's very tactical, these DRS zones here, because even if you get overtaken, you can then get the DRS on the next straight and try and fight back, because there's a second detection point. But the Red Bull looks a little bit too far away to be able to get back up into that 9th position. Brendan Lee is only in a 1.5 seconds behind Enzo Benito, so he hasn't come out in real clear air here. Into the pits comes Frederick Rasmussen, then the gap came down to 1.2 seconds. This is going to be very, very tight at the pit lane exit. The Toro Rosso driver pulls down into his marks. The team, the fictional team, obviously the virtual team, that's the word, get to work, 2.6 seconds. Here comes Brendan Lee across the line. We've got this underground pit exit here that you'll see Rasmussen popping out of in a moment. I think Lee's going to hold on to this pretty well, isn't he? Here comes Rasmussen. Brendan Lee's miles in front So those fresher tyres on the super softs, he's put a superb lap in and he's disappeared up the road. That must be a good 3 or 4 seconds now. The difference between them, 4 seconds it is, from Brendan Lee to Frederick Rasmussen.
Why? He lost too much in the pit lane. Probably his pit lane entry lap was not perfect. Probably lost something in the pit lane entry. And look, Brendan Lee was just unbelievable in this out lap. Look at the overtake, so easily, so smooth. So he's flying again just after the pit stop.
He's the boss again now.
Yeah, he's the boss again now. Rasmussen has to recover, but he's not in an easy condition at the moment.
So, Brendan Lee resumes the net lead of the race, makes his way past the McLaren of Enzo Benito that has yet to pit. Bono Huis leads, but has yet to stop. Same is true of Alec van der Waal, who doesn't lead, but he's second and has yet to stop. Then it's Brendan Lee in third. He has stopped. Benito hasn't in fourth. Rasmussen has in fifth. But the gap between Rasmussen and Berezne remained the same, about 3 seconds. So it's Brendan Lee that was the big winner in that. Here we've got some Red Bulls fighting. Yoni Tordomolo and Graham Carroll. And I think they've both had the same amount of pit stops. So I think this is a true battle for position between the Red Bull drivers. Over 10th and 11th place at the moment, with the Force India of Fabrizio De Noso in 9th place. Fastest lap banged in by Brendan Lee.
That's why he was so much in front to Rasmussen, because he just set the fastest lap of the race. I think that Brendan Lee, just after the pit stop, just delivered 100% of his speed, and he made a huge difference. Now will be not easy for Rasmussen. Try to recover 4 seconds of gap.
Bono Huis has come into the pits and he is going to emerge still just behind Daniel Berezne by about 5 seconds, but with fresher tyres.
A good position for him, and consider that Enzo Bonito has to stop, didn't stop yet. I think the Bono Huis is on the top 5, so well done for him that he was not so lucky during this season, but he's getting better in the last 2 events, so well done.
Here is Sven Zerner now in the Renault, up behind Graham Carroll. This is the battle over 8th place at the moment. The DRS open for Sven Zerner. Carroll covers the inside line. Zerner forced to go to the outside, but he gets the move done on the brakes. Gets past Graham Carroll, and now Sally Sautunk is going to join the fight as well in that Sauber. Lap 13 of 28, so we're approaching half-race distance. And we'll see what happens here with Sally Sautunk, because he's going to get the slipstream and the DRS on Carroll and Zerner. Looks to the outside to just try and keep out of any trouble that might kick off, but Zerner it is, still in that 8th position just about. The final sequence of corners, down towards the hotel. We're on board once more with Sally Sautunk, race winner in Germany a couple of races ago.
And usually this man is getting better during the race. In the second half of the race, usually is performing and delivering better result and better performance. So I would like to keep an eye on it. Ah, look, pit stop for the top 2 drivers.
Yeah, so Sven Zerner comes into the pits, as does Graham Carroll. They get on the brakes. Those two had a pit lane battle in Germany a couple of races ago. No such troubles this time around. This is Frederick Rasmussen, meanwhile. He's behind Enzo Benito, who is still yet to make his pit stop. So Benito's still going around out there in the McLaren, and Frederick Rasmussen now gets up into 2nd place, where he sort of is anyway, because Benito hasn't stopped. You can see the pit stoppers there. So that was Sven Zerner and Graham Carroll's 2nd pit stop. Same is true of Joni Tordomala as well. So those guys all going for 2 stops at the moment, some due to damage, some due to strategy, on lap 14 of 28. And 3.6 seconds then, the gap between Lee and Rasmussen. Let's see if Rasmussen can do anything about that.
He's starting to gain a bit yet, because seems that Rasmussen probably he has a bit of more performance, more speed than Brendan Lee, but now he has to recover 3.6 seconds. Not easy, but he can do it. Also, we need to consider that he has 1 lap less on tires, that now is not making difference, but probably at the end of the race he's doing something. I think that Rasmussen has to believe in it. Also because in some part of the track, he still look at him. Look, Rasmussen, I think that at this exit he can see Brendan Lee and give you an extra confidence to say, you are again on my mirror, you are again on my view, I can catch you.
Half-race distance in the final race of the season. Alvaro Caraton's been given a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings for track limits as well. But it's Brendan Lee who is leading as it stands. 3.3 seconds in front of Frederick Rasmussen in second place. Daniel Berezne in third. That would secure Mercedes the Constructors' Championship and the $50,000 that go with it. Toro Rosso would remain in second. Third place would be incredibly tight because Martin Stefanko's up there in 5th place, although he has yet to make a pit stop. So Haas are involved. Fabrizio Donoso's done a good job. He's in 6th place in the Force India. The Saubers are in 8th and 9th, which isn't bad. Michael Schmidl's just at the fastest lap of the race for Haas as well. So that 3rd place is going to be really hard fought over. But Frederick Rasmussen in 2nd, still 3.3 seconds from Brendan Lees. Not closing the gap much at the moment. Monagui still in 4th. Stefanko 5th. Closest battle on the track is the 2 Saubers, Alec van der Waal and Sally Saltank. There's also this little battle here going on with Sven Zerner up behind Joni Tormala in the battle over 12th place. Tormala doesn't cover the inside line, allows Sven Zerner the chance to get up the inside into the chicane, and then the Red Bull will try and fight back. There's a huge amount of curve on the way in and the way out, but I think he's going to be a bit too far away from the Renault.
Sven Zerner was perfect. He prepared the overtakes very well. He was very close on the main straight with the using of the DRS. He catch the position, and in front of him he has Marcel Kiefer. Not easy to catch, but is achievable for him. Zerner, no, 3-second penalty. Just now, we were on board with him and probably catch that curb a bit too much, and he got the penalty.
Yeah, he shakes his head as he continues to work the wheel, and he'll have to try and put that to the back of his mind and carry on. Martin Stefanko finally pits from 5th position, so he will drop down. He already did 15 laps on those super soft tyres, and he's now going to put on ultra soft tyres for the final stint. So he's going to have a reasonable amount of pace. Enzo Benito has done the same strategy as well. Sven Zerner sets the fastest lap of the race so far, but he's still got that 3-second time penalty. He's 1.7 seconds away from Marcel Kiefer, who's the final man in the points-paying position. This is Enzo Benito in 6th place, right behind Fabrizio Donoso. I was just saying that Benito is on a softer compound of tyre to Donoso. Is he going to be able to make the move here? He's a bit too far back, isn't he? Unless he fancies a mega lunge next time.
Yeah, from my point of view, good idea, because look, he's preparing the exit of the second chicane, and now with the DRS, he's trying to attack immediately on the outside line, and that's a bit strange, but more speed. Oh, he's already front on the straight.
Wow, what a move that from Enzo Benito around the outside. Got a superb run out of the chicane and was able to cruise past the Force India. So that's 4th and 5th now for McLaren. Here's the other Force India of Marcel Kiefer, side by side with Sven Zerner, and the Renault is in front as they get on the brakes. So Sven Zerner in 10th place now, the final points-paying position. But that's really good for McLaren to be 4th and 5th. They haven't had a great season, quite frankly, but double points on offer. This will be a huge chunk of positions in the Constructors' Championship if they can hold on to this on lap 17 of 28.
Yeah, they are delivering and performing very well. Tino Nakorin, 3-second penalty, are not very lucky also because he's 17th at the moment. I think that Donoso is struggling with tires. He just lost one position, we saw it, and now he lost the position on Van der Waal. So I think that he's struggling a lot with tires, and he went in the pit just to have his 2nd pit stop already.
Yeah, same is true of Sally Saltank in the Sauber, so a few second pit stops starting to rotate through now. And I think that the leaders, so you can see how many laps they've done on these tyres here. So the top 7, I would say, are done. They've only done 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 laps on those tyres, whereas you can see Marcel Kiefer, for example, he's going to be stopping again because he's done 15 laps on those super softs.
Probably one of the next lap is going to use the ultra soft for the second part of the race and have the chance, because look, he's under pressure at the moment.
Yep, so there is the look. Michael Schmidl going up the inside of Marcel Kiefer, and that is now 8th place for Michael Schmidl. And Sven Zerner is going to be the next man up the road, 3 seconds further in front. Fabrizio Donoso and Graham Carroll side by side. They're both off the circuit, and that allows Martin Stefanko to cut past both of them in the Haas. But now it's going to get all busy coming down into the next chicane. Who's going to emerge in front? It's still Stefanko with Graham Carroll behind, and then Fabrizio Donoso Delgado. So that's 11th, 12th and 13th position. Great little scrap there on lap 18 of 28. 11 laps to go. Brendan Lee his lead has come down a little to under 3 seconds.
Probably Rasmussen is starting to believe in it. It's just less than 3 seconds. And look, Kiefer, yeah, you were right. He's struggling with tires. 15 laps on these tires. He's trying to defend the position. Probably he's going to be on the pit lane. Look, look, he's crossing.
And the Red Bull goes up the inside just as Kiefer's trying to pit. That could have gone poorly, but they got away with it just about.
Was tough and hard, and they were close to have a huge incident. But I think that was incredibly important for Kiefer having the pistol, because his tires, they were gone.
Gone. Brendan Lee leading the way. 2.9 seconds clear of Frederick Rasmussen. Daniel Beresnay in third place, fourth for Bonacuis, fifth for Enzo Benito. Alain de Waal on the super soft tyre will be a bit frustrated. I think he's slipped down to sixth position, having started in fourth place on the grid. And then Sven Zerner, Michael Schmidl, Joni Tormala and Martin Stefanko completing the top 10. Keep an eye on Fabrizio Donoso Delgado, though. He's got a brand new set of ultra-soft tyres on. He's only a couple of seconds away from the final points-paying position. So I think Donoso is going to be entertaining in these remaining 10 laps as Brendan Lee comes across the line in a moment to start lap 19 of 28. This is Alvaro Caraton.
And Caraton probably has a good exit. He probably is going to attack, because look, DRS is not very close, but he has the extra speed of the DRS, and maybe he's going to try a late attack. No, it was a bit too far. He didn't want to risk.
Yep, let's just see whether he's able to do it coming out of this chicane. Not quite close enough. So 10 laps to go. Matt Gallagher, what are you making of the race so far?
I'm absolutely loving this race at the moment. The variation of strategies, you've got people on hyper softs, super softs, ultra softs. The strategy element is absolutely fascinating, and I don't think we'll see a set order until the final lap. And you can see Alvaro Caraton in 15th at the moment on the ultra softs. And one thing I've noticed at the moment is the McLarens running in 4th and 5th, double points. That could be huge for the constructors. That's probably a 40-odd point haul. Yeah. I know, you're pretty impressed, Jack. I can see that over there, but it's going to be... I mean, that could propel McLaren up to where maybe they belong. Is this the race, Jack? Did they get the luck?
McLaren are back, is that what we're saying?
Yes, 4th and 5th, loving it.
Lap 19 of 28 in the F1 eSports Pro Series final race of 2018. Brendan Lee already the champion, not officially, but he'll surely be the champion if he finishes this race as well, so whatever. But here's a look up the inside from Martin Stefanko. That's 9th place now for the Haas driver, past Joni Tormala's Red Bull. And here now is the Sauber of Sally Sautunk, and he is going side by side with Graham Carroll's Red Bull. And Sautunk is up now into 12th position. Fabrizio Donoso Delgado only 2 seconds back from Joni Tormala and Martin Stefanko. So that's going to be a good little fight. Here comes Graham Carroll trying to get back. They come into view, and it is the Sauber who is in front of Sally Sautunk, with Graham Carroll behind in 13th place. Then you've got Kimi Larsen and Alvaro Caraton right together, but Sally Sautunk looks as though he's got that move made and up into 12th position.
A lot of drivers out of the top 10, they went for the second stop.
Yeah.
While the top drivers in the top 3 position, they just had the one stop. And it will be interesting to check it out, the situation of Rasmussen, that now is gaining time on Brendan Lee. Now he's 2.2 seconds behind the leader, and they can try and they can have the chance at the end of this race.
Martin Stefanko has just been let through by Michael Schmidl into 8th place because his ultra-soft tyres are 3 laps less used than Michael Schmidl. So it looks as though they are making progress up the order there, the Haas team. My apologies, Schmidl's on the hypersofts, isn't he? And Stefanko is on the ultrasofts. Sven Zerner is on the hypersofts as well. As Matt was saying, all 3 compounds of tyre in use. Here we go now with Joni Tormala. Can he get past Michael Schmidl? The little beep means he can press his DRS button. Opens it. Schmidl's got the DRS too. But here comes Joni Tormala up the inside. Super late on the brakes with those super soft tyres, and he makes the move on Michael Schmidl, who drops down into 10th place. So Tormala coming into this race a little bit more as well.
Clean and smooth, was good at that maneuver. Tormala, he managed very well the attack, and now he's defending the position because the rival has the DRS, but yes, he got it, and I hope for him that he can catch some good points. Now he's 9th, he's using the super soft, he can finish the race with this compound, and probably he can catch some more points.
On board with Schmidl.
Nice, that hotel, eh?
I don't know. Have you stayed there?
Yeah, wonderful.
Have you stayed there?
But it's very expensive.
Wow. 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 No, I've never stayed there. Into the pits then comes Michael Schmidl, I think, for the Haas team. Yes, as does Sven Zerner as well. So Zerner had done only 7 laps on those Hypersoft tyres. So maybe another set of Hypersofts for the final stint, potentially, for Sven Zerner. But he was involved in the chaos on the opening lap too. So he's got a lot of work to do to try and make his way back up the order. Lap 21 of 28. Rasmussen gets the gap down to 2.1 seconds. But really, the top 6 seem to be fairly set. Still keeping my eye on Fabrizio Donoso now, who's only 1.2 seconds behind Joni Tormala on softer, newer tyres. So I think Fabrizio Donoso, who we're watching here, is going to be closing in. Brendan Lee, though, still the race leader, 2 seconds ahead of Frederick Rasmussen.
Rasmussen is quicker, but is gaining too slowly, I think. He needs like a mistake from Brandon Lee. If no, it's very difficult that he's going to have the chance to catch him. Look, he's 2 seconds in front of him. Now, 1 second, 0.9, but he's catching, he's gaining too slowly to Brandon Lee. He needs a mistake from his rival. If no, Brandon Lee is going to catch another victory. 6 laps to the end.
Kimi Larsen with a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and he's in 12th place, so that'll drop him down a couple of positions. We go on board with Brendan Lee. Need to keep an eye out on Fabrizio Donoso Delgado as well, because he was less than a second away from making a move. As we go on board with Brendan Lee, look at all the stuff he's up to on the right-hand side. He's turning the energy recovery system, he's deploying that energy, and then when he gets on the brakes, he'll turn it down to no deployment. Swing it into the left-hander. Drop that little screen down. Meanwhile, this is Tino Naukarinen in 16th place, trying to get past Marcel Kiefer, who's had a tough old race as Kiefer. And Sven Zerner is in front of Kimi Larsen now. So Larsen moving out of the way, potentially, in that Renault team. And how is Donoso doing? He's still less than a second away from Joni Tormala. So I think that 8th place battle is going to kick off soon.
Yeah, Tormala that got 8th. He was 9 and now he's 8th. And seems that he's gaining to Martin Stefanko in front of him. That is on a different strategy. He's just had 1 pit stop. So Tormala seems that he's one of the best in the second half of the race. And look, Rasmussen, 1.6.
Oh.
He gained 3/10 in the last lap. Maybe there is a chance of a fight in the one of the last few laps. 1.4. He's gaining. He's gaining. And remember that when you arrive under 1 second, you have the DRS and probably give you an extra 3/10 per lap, gaining the top speed on the straight.
So we'll keep an eye out on Frederick Rasmussen's gap to the front as ever. Here is Fabrizio Donoso, though. He is less than half a second away from Joni Tormala in their battle over 8th position in this squabble that could be key in the Constructors' Championship.
And Rasmussen, I'm sorry, man, but I'm looking at Tino Naukarinen, 3-second penalty. I'm looking at the standings now. Rasmussen down to 1.1. Remember that already won 1 race, I think in Baku, if I remember well. Just at the end of the main straight, it was unbelievable. It was a three-minute race. So the man is able to catch a victory just at the very end. We'll see if he can catch it also today.
Sven Zerner sets the fastest lap of the race. Frederick Rasmussen's tyres are 1 lap fresher than Brendan Lee's. We're on lap 23 of 28. And we are on board now with Sally Sautunk, who is right behind Fabrizio Donoso. So Donoso more under pressure than he is attacking Tormala. Nice wide line from Sautunk into that hairpin. Turns up the ERS deployment.
Also, Donoso as the DRS, I think, will be not easy for Sagan to try these overtakes, because look, when the car in front of you has the DRS, you're not gaining so much on the straight. You need to prepare very well this exit. From this chicane, look, he opened the line to cross, maybe it was a bit too wide, but Tormala is under pressure now.
Yeah, the Red Bull is going to be under big pressure. Sally Sautunk, did you see he selected Shut Up Jeff there on the right-hand side? That tells his engineer to be quiet. And the Red Bull and the Sauber and the Force India come together, bang wheels, and Joni Tormala holds the place for the time being. That was very close.
He was aggressive, Tormala, in defending position, but I think he was right. He tried Donoso on the outside. Maybe the choice was not so right. And Tormala, did you saw it? He opened a bit the line and he forced him to use the escape road.
Yoni Tormala wants to hold on to that 8th position. Sally Southon can see 8th place waiting for him in a couple of corners' time, in a couple of places' time, as they come out of the final corner once more to start lap 23 of 28, or I should say lap 24 of 28. Not long to go now. 5 laps remaining in the 2018 F1 eSports Pro Series. We're on board with Sally Southon in 10th spot. Up behind Fabrizio De Noso, been sim racing for a long time, started on the Jeff Crammond Grand Prix games like all the cool people.
It's Rasmussen. It's Rasmussen, 6 tenths. And now he has the using of the DRS. Look how much he gained on the main straight. Half a second behind. He catched him. And now he has 4 laps to think about, and a good move to get this victory.
Oh, so late on the brakes compared to Brendan Lee there. Rasmussen is right on the back of the reigning champion, the 2-time champion. He's got so much more speed.
In Italy we say he can feel the smell of the blood. I don't know if it's the same in...
Oh no, we're not quite that weird to say something like that.
But he can feel the chance.
Yeah.
He's the biggest of his career in the race simulating. But look, seems that he studied the rival, tried to have the cleanest and smooth maneuver to get this victory.
Oh, surely this has got to be done for Frederick Rasmussen. He's right behind Brendan Lee. How hard is the Mercedes driver going to fight down to the chicane? A little bit too far back. Oh, thought there was going to be a little nudge there, but they just about kept it together. Now it's all about the exit from this hairpin.
Oh, he missed a bit of the apex, I think, of Brendan Lee.
We pretty much burned off our excess
Tucked up behind the race leader. The DRS will open now.
Overtakes the sprinter there. ERS deployed. Overtake.
Is he going to be close enough into the first chicane? I don't think so, unless he fancies a big lunge. But this, of course, was where Brendan Lee and Fabrizio De Noso Delgado had their huge scrap 1 year ago in the final race. That was for the overall title. This is just for honour and pride, and who is the best sim racer out there. And at the moment, Lee is covering it off and is holding position well.
Very well done from Brendan Lee, because he chose the line in the chicane.
Oh! Out of nowhere, Frederick Rasmussen up the inside, and he gets in front of Brendan Lee. Does he? No. Lee holds the inside for the next 2 right-handers. Rasmussen goes all the way around the outside. Can he get that job done? No. Pushed out wide. Still got the inside line, and he's in front. But does Brendan Lee get back to the inside?
Penalty.
Yes, so Lee back in front. Rasmussen gave that place back. That move came out of nowhere.
He has to stay calm because he's on the outside.
Oh, and he's got the outside. And now he'll have the inside for turn 1. Brendan Lee comes across, closes the door a little on the Toro Rosso driver, tries to go around the outside at turn 1. More wheel banging between the 2 of them. And Rasmussen has the lead at the moment. All this is allowing Daniel Barasnay to come and join the fight. But for now, Frederick Rasmussen into the lead of the race.
What a fight! They are 2 champions. And look, Brendan Lee. He never give up. He's still there, he's trying.
Up the inside.
Impossible there.
And he's done it.
Whoa! Whoa! That was a wonderful move. And look, Beresney is going to try. How is it possible that he tried there?
But now here comes Rasmussen, because Brendan Lee got the overtake and the DRS by going up the inside of the hairpin. So now Rasmussen will have to fight again, coming down into the next chicane. We're on lap 26 of 28. There is not long to go, and it's a 3-way fight for the win in Abu Dhabi.
He's going to try again, because look, Rasmussen has the DRS. Probably Brendan Lee is going to close the line.
Here they come on the brakes. Lee emerges just in front, but surely Rasmussen knows he seems to have better tires. He seems to be able to have more grip than Brendan Lee.
Yeah, but Brendan Lee is still leading the race. And now, 2 laps to the end.
Oh! He's gone for it again up the inside. And Lee just about holds on for the time being. Nudge, nudge, nudge. Bit of damage maybe on the front of Frederick Rasmussen's car there. Daniel Berezne still can't quite take the fight to the 2 of them. But they're both finding such crazy places to try and overtake, aren't they?
Come on, Beresney, I believe in you. He's 3rd. He's just gaining so much time, and now he's in a fresh mental condition. He never fought during this race, and now he got the chance to win the race from the 3rd position. Not in easy condition, but he's there. The victory is not far. Less than 1 second. Have a try, mate.
Penultimate lap of the race, penultimate lap of the season. Super late on the brakes, so we're going to get an inside move into the hairpin this time.
That's right.
a time penalty for exceeding track limits, and now the two Mercedes are nose to tail, and Beresnay's going to try and take them both up the inside. 3 wide for the lead, and Daniel Beresnay is in front.
Yes! What a move! He was just very clever, but now he still has to defend.
So now Beresnay in front, and Brendan Lee will try and hold off Frederick Rasmussen again, but now the Dane will be absolutely determined to try and make the move stick. Brendan Lee back around the outside, the two Mercedes in fighting formation, and the Toro Rosso through.
Probably second.
No, but Brendan Lee's coming back up the inside now, and he still holds on to that position. Here comes Bono Huis. Out of nowhere, McLaren are getting into this fight too. Rasmussen is going to be so frustrated being stuck behind Brendan Lee, because this is giving Daniel Beresnay a big, big lead with only a lap to go.
A bit attention to Bono Huis that he has fresher tires and he can try at the very late attack on the last corner.
So
look at him.
They're about to start the final lap of the race, and Daniel Beresnay is gone. Surely he has got this one. Brendan Lee has done it. And there's Bono Huis on the inside. Almost pushed into the wall, and Bono Huis now is up into 3rd place in front of Frederick Rasmussen.
And he can be second considering the penalty of Brendan Lee.
Yeah. So Brendan Lee, second on the road, but now this is the battle for second in the race, because surely Daniel Beresnay has got the job done. Going on to the final lap, he is more than a second in front of Bono Huis and in front of Frederick Rasmussen. So who's going to finish in second place? What a superb performance it would be from Huis and the McLaren Shadow team if they could pick up a podium in the final race of the season. Here is Rasmussen. He's a bit too far back, isn't he? Daniel Beresnay is leading the way. Huis in second, Lee in second, but Huis ultimately in second once Brendan Lee has served his 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. He will be furious with that. He will claim that he was pushed off the track all of those times by Frederick Rasmussen. Wow.
Wow, you're right. I'm just tired for them, to be honest.
Tired for them?
Yeah, I'm tired. I don't know why, but the race destroyed me. I think that Bono Huis is going to try the attack, not an easy place, but look, after the second right, very quick, he's going to try. No. Maybe he knew about the penalty, and he just need to finish there to get the second position, but he's so close to Brendan Lee.
So Brendan Lee has already wrapped up the Drivers' Championship. Mercedes are going to wrap up the Teams' Championship with victory for Daniel Beresnay in the final race of 2018. Wonderful drive, wonderful race, wonderful victory for the Hungarian. Bono Huis across the line in second. Superb performance from him. Frederick Rasmussen in 3rd across the line, with Benito 4th. So that penalty for Brendan Lee sees him drop down to 5th position. 6th for Alec van der Waal. Now, fantastic race. Something tells me Frederick Rasmussen's already got up from his rig, and we'll see whether he goes and has any discussions. I just wonder if there might be some people, Davide, making some complaints or, you know, protests or something like that, maybe.
To be honest, Brendan Lee was very aggressive in defending position, but Rasmussen maybe he lost a bit the momentum. He had to try immediately when he catch Brendan Lee, and he couldn't use the chance at the end. Beresnay, he conquered a fantastic race, and it was incredible in finding the right time to get this victory. Beresnay was the man of the day.
He was the boss. Great performance from Daniel Beresnay. He takes victory in the final race of the F1 New Balance eSports Pro Series of 2018.